that promises so much. It's the FA Youth Cup semi-final. It's Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. The home side chasing a 12th title in this competition that carries so much history for them. They've won it more than anybody else, but they'll face a stern test against a Crystal Palace side seeking to make the final for the first time since 1997 and chasing their own bit of history. It's almost half a century since the Eagles last won this competition. They've won it twice back-to-back in 1977 and 1978. Who's going to get their slice of history tonight? A warm welcome to you wherever you are across the world. I'm Michael McCann, and I'm delighted to say joining me is the perfect person to run us through this game and an evening that promises so much. Luke Chadwick, a Premier League winner in 2000 and someone with more than 500 appearances in the professional game. How the devil are we?
To the game tonight, obviously it's semi-final, massive game. We heard Darren Fletcher talking earlier about it's about results at this stage of the tournament. I'm sure both teams who got through very tight semi-finals, Crystal Palace at Aston Villa and Manchester United against Sunderland at Old Trafford, are both ready to work incredibly hard this evening.
Yeah, you do often see managers playing a bit of a game of poker in pre-match interviews, but Fletcher was making no attempt to play this game down. It's not another game. We're not hiding away from that, the Scot said. It's a semi-final. It's a big game and a big challenge. Let's take a look at the players that he has picked for this big challenge for Manchester United. He has named a side that is unchanged from the team that won here against Sunderland 3-2 in the quarter-final, but they certainly didn't have it all their own way in that game. They needed a late winner from Nathaniel Junior Brown, and at one point they were wobbling somewhat at 2-1 down, but they carry a lot of threat going forward, don't they, Luke? The likes of Noah Ajayi, Chido Obi and Brown himself, as well as Gabriel, who's possibly the star of the lot at 15.
Without a doubt, Gabriel's the lad that everyone's talking about, plays between the lines, sees a pass and gets in the box and scores goals as well. I think the massive threat was the wide men against Sunderland. Obviously, Nathaniel Junior Brown and Noah Ajayi both scoring on the night, and Chido Obi offers so much running them channels.
Crystal Palace have made two changes to the side that managed to, much like Manchester United, come from behind to win their quarter-final 3-2, knocking the holders Aston Villa out away from home at Villa Park. But Jasper Judd, their captain, is injured, so Sean Sommerheed comes in at centre-half. Kyan Fraser-Williams drops to the bench. Dean Benamar comes in the left wing-back position. It is a switch from a 4-3-3 to a 3-4-2-1. We've seen Javier Alonso oscillate between these two this season, partially depending on the opponent, so clearly he's seen some kind of chink in the armour of Manchester United, that he feels like this system with Rayhan Anderson in the pocket behind David Angibo and Benji Casey is the way to go. So it's a 3-4-2-1 matching up against Manchester United's 4-3-3.
Yeah, so I think it matches up the midfields. I think obviously McCormack's going to have a job looking after Anderson, who's been so impressive for Crystal Palace, and then Thwaites and Gabriel against Danaher and Okoli. It's going to be a tight match-up in there, looking for the space between the lines. But I think a massive reason behind the three at the back is to deal with the threat of Chido Obi in those channels.
A good crowd in here at Manchester United as well. I realise that you might look at what seems to be quite an empty Sir Alex Ferguson stand as I say that, but the nature of our camera angles is such that all the fans are around us here in the press box, mainly away to our left-hand side. We saw plenty of current first-team players, as well as the likes of Wayne Rooney and Michael Carrick in attendance for that quarter-final. It is fair to say that if any club lives and breathes this competition, it is Manchester United. And as a former Manchester United player, I'm sure you experienced that even without the team having quite the success they would want in it while you were there, Luke.
With the Youth Cup is that without doubt the biggest game for the under-18s. This is the biggest game that some of the lads I'm sure will play in their football careers tonight at Old Trafford, and it means so much. I'm not saying it means any more to Manchester United than any other club, but it's the way that it's steeped in tradition, the history of the players coming through, and it's going to be an electric atmosphere tonight. And with the first team manager, I'm here, Sean Watson, as well. It's a great opportunity for these lads to do their very best and look to progress in their footballing careers.
And it's worth saying as well that there's plenty of Crystal Palace fans in and around us, because there isn't an away end as such. And when Sunderland scored those 2 goals against Manchester United in the quarter-final, it was then that you truly realised that there was quite a lot of travelling support there for the possibility of an upset. Subs are just heading out and the teams will be out very shortly. Just give us a sense of the nerves for these players. Javier Alonso was talking about the fact that it is an unbelievable stadium, and the Crystal Palace boss saying that his players, much like the Sunderland players did, have actually got to try and thrive on that to give their very best.
Yeah, it's different for each players. I think tonight it's built up as such a big game because it is, but it is the nerves that can get the better of you. For some players, they'll absolutely thrive off it. For some, it might seem a little bit too much to start with until they get into the game, but it's a massive game and a massive pitch at Old Trafford as well, and I'm sure we're going to see lots of space as the game progresses.
And don't underestimate Crystal Palace. They will face Manchester United in the Premier League Cup final next Wednesday, the 22nd of April at Selhurst Park, a 7 p.m. kickoff there. It's a £5 for adults, it's £1 for seniors and juniors. They've already sold more than 5,000 tickets for that one. So you might say that in its own quirky sort of way, this is a two-legged tie of sorts, with firstly the fight at Old Trafford to get into an FA Youth Cup final, and then of course the chance to win the Premier League Cup.
Yeah, it is. The Premier League Cup's obviously massive, but I don't think anything is as big as the Youth Cup in under-18s football, as you see the teams coming out now.
It is Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. The Red Devils against the Eagles, fighting for the chance to face Manchester City away from home in the FA Youth Cup final, after Manchester City comfortably saw off Blackburn Rovers last Friday. What will this Friday night, under the lights, at one of the great amphitheatres of English football, give us? Manchester United, 11-time winners of this competition that is steeped so much in their history. Crystal Palace, desperate for an upset, but not to be underestimated, a side that are third in the Premier League Southern Division behind only Chelsea and Spurs. And of course these two meet in the Premier League Cup final next Wednesday, but for now full focus is on the game that is in front of them. Palace only twice winners of this competition, back in 1977 and 1978. I know there's been conversations within that group about being the team to make history, and the first Palace side in 48 years to lift the trophy.
It's certainly a long time since Palace have lifted it, but we know that they've got a team steeped with talent here tonight. I think, speaking to some of the Palace staff, it was a game that maybe they felt they shouldn't have won against Aston Villa, or Aston Villa dominated a lot of the game, but they're so pleased with the resilience that this team has showed throughout this tournament, particularly in that game at Villa Park, where they come back from the dead really to score 2 late goals and to go through 3-2.
Rehahan Anderson with a curler that was possibly one of the best goals you'll see before Chuck Sakoli got the winner. Manchester United are unchanged from the quarter-final 3-2 win here against Sunderland, where Nathaniel Junior Brown's goal was the difference between the sides eventually, but United midway through the second half were in some trouble at 2-1 down before fighting back to get the victory. It is an unchanged 11. Bendito Mantato is unavailable. That's the one bit of bad team news from a Manchester United point of view. As for Crystal Palace, they've been slightly less lucky with injuries, because their captain Jasper Judd, who's been a focal point of the defence in this campaign, doesn't make it through injury. Kyan Fraser-Williams heads to the bench, having been also part of the 11 that won 3-2 at Aston Villa. Sean Summerhead and Dean Benamar are the two to come in, and Palace switch to a 3-4-1-2. Watch for Rehahan Anderson in that number 10 role, with the licence to roam and the licence to cause problems.
I think Anderson, without a doubt, is going to be a massive threat, and it's going to be a big job for Rafe McCormack in there, sort of looking after him, trying to stop him playing between the lines. But United have got their own threats, particularly as we spoke about before, Gabriel.
He's only 15 years old. He is the youngest player on the pitch for Manchester United today. He isn't the only 15-year-old, though. Luca Benetton, the Crystal Palace keeper, is 15 as well, and it's a mark of the faith in him that he gets the nod for Palace ahead of the likes of Jack Mason and Thiago Speroni, son of Julian, as the pre-match formalities are being completed. Your referee is Michael Barlow, assisted by Harley McKittrick and Timothy Walker. Your fourth official is Lewis Dawson. Handshakes being completed, and all the final formalities with the exchange of pennants as well. Dan Armour captaining Manchester United, the centre-back, and Crystal Palace hunting an upset in a stage that would be quite the way to do it. And if they are going to win the FA Youth Cup, Crystal Palace are going to win it in some style by winning twice against the two big Manchester clubs away from home.
Certainly the hard way, coming up to Old Trafford this evening, and if they do get the result tonight, they'll be going up to play at the Etihad against Man City. So it's going to be two incredibly tough games for whoever gets through tonight, with Manchester City waiting in the final.
Palace in their away kit, of course, the white and the blue with that red shoulder sash and down the front. And Manchester United, of course, in the red shirts, the white socks, and the black socks, white shorts and the red shirts. United kicking from left to right as we look at things in this first half. Palace from right to left. Great to have your company wherever you are across the world on a night that promises so much drama. Extra time and penalties available if needed.
Very close to that last time against Sunderland. A really late goal from Nathaniel Junior Brown to get the winner. And the wide players were a real threat for United that night, and really looking forward to them to seeing them play again today.
So it's Manchester United versus Crystal Palace in the FA Youth Cup second semi-final. They know what they're playing for. The right to travel to face Manchester City at the Etihad. It'll be the shortest of trips for the home side. A longer trip back up from London for the Eagles, who would be oh so happy to make it, but have got to get past stern opposition tonight. Looking to try and make their bit of history. It would be the first FA Youth Cup final Palace had reached since 1997. And also runners-up in 92, winners way back in 77 and 78. Manchester United, meanwhile, 11-time winners and 4 times runners-up, chasing a spot in a final for the first time since winning here with more than 67,000 watching as they beat Nottingham Forest back in 2022. Palace with the stronger of the two in terms of the start. Benema puts it on for Benji Casey, who loses out, and now Noah Ajayi can try and get the home side going. Scored a magnificent goal in the quarter-final just before half-time, where to that point Manchester United had been a little sluggish. And for those of you who've maybe joined just after this game kicked off, delighted to have the company tonight of former Manchester United midfielder and Premier League winner with the club, Luke Chadwick.
Yeah, interesting to see Palace's press at the start of the game in terms of letting Cameron Burns-Hughes have the ball and sort of a mid-block that they've got on at the moment, and then catching United and winning the ball in the middle third. But it's be interesting to see if they stick with that or start pressing a little bit higher.
Yeah, Burns-Hughes as a keeper, almost as you'd expect at this level, but he's known for being particularly good with the ball at his feet. So there is a danger, and other teams have experienced this in under-18s football this season, that if you stand off him as the goalkeeper, he can actually spray out the kind of passes that can get you punished.
Yeah, finding like really good passes between the lines, doesn't go long all that often, but really sees the space and can get it between the lines and get United onto the attack quickly. Hence why maybe Palace is standing off early on. Early
platform for Palace to build something. It was nice hustle in the channels by David Angibo. Long throw was nowhere near a Palace shirt, though. Still there, though. Cross can come in from Benema, and Burns-Hughes is confident and eager to get things going quickly. He's trying to find Chido Obi, who will be a key resource for Manchester United tonight. Got the winning goal in the third round, fourth round, I should say, was on target in the fifth round, and got the equaliser in the quarter-final. Really good goalkeeping then from Cameron Burns-Hughes, and look to get United on the attack quickly. Now, this is the pattern of the game that, speaking to quite a few analysts in the build-up to this one, they reckon we're most likely to see a fair bit of. Palace are a team that are very comfortable not having the ball and being dangerous on the break. Manchester United are a team that tend to dominate possession in most of the games they're in, but anyone who knows and understands the game will mean that having the ball doesn't necessarily always mean that you have control of the game. Now, I think early on in the game as well, it's the way that Palace is in their shape. I think it'll be interesting to see as the game goes on, when the legs start getting a bit tired, whether they'll be able to hold the shape, and that goes for both teams, really. Manchester United looking to pick the lock. Certainly not a team short of confidence. 13 wins from 13 this year as they chase a possible treble of the FA Youth Cup, the Premier League Cup, and then winning the National League final, where the winners of the North League face the winners of the South League. He's trying to shimmy his way through there was Ajayi. Gabriel, helped back by Kakonki. Palace content to sit deep. Gabriel tries to slide one in behind. That's a good ball. Chance on the turn. And a recovery challenge from Sean Somaid. First corner of the game. And it comes after a promising move for United.
Brilliant movement by Obi to receive the ball inside the box, and as Gabriel does, finds a pass. And it's there's a bit of shirt pulling going on. I don't know if it's from both sides, but it's a dangerous game there that Sean Mahid is playing.
Yeah, that replay really showed it. I've got to say, I thought there wasn't too much in it initially. Near post corner, eventually scrambled clear. But that replay really gave away. It was quite a persistent bit of work, and it's almost one of those where, had he managed to get a little bit further away from his marker so it looks more visibly like it's holding him back, then it might have been more likely to be given as a penalty.
Yeah.
But either way, you're walking a tightrope.
I think the stage of the game as well, the referee doesn't want to make a decision like that, maybe, but it did look like a clear shirt tug, but you'd feel quite harshly treated if it was given as a penalty if I was a Crystal Palace person.
Manchester United fans making their voices heard early on. Club that has a remarkable record in this competition. They've won it 11 times. Chelsea have won it 9 times, most of those coming in a big run from 2013 to 18, where they won it 5 in a row. Arsenal have won it 7 times. They're third on that list. Of course, they know that their arch rivals Man City would wait away from home in the final. Obi on the turn. And Obi fouled.
A good centre-forward play by Obi again, getting his body in and winning another foul for United.
Yeah, that physical battle back there, the key part of this contest, particularly with the back three. So Obi's going to have plenty of company from the Palace defence. Ball forward looking for Obi. Just a little head on it from Somaid. Cleared long, looking for Benji Casey. Won comfortably enough by Armour. Palace appealing for a foul. Referee Barlow not interested. United give it straight back. Ball's a bit of a hot potato. You can definitely feel like both teams are a little nervous.
And I think it's always the case going into such a massive game at Old Trafford. Like Darren Fletcher said in his interview at the start, United have played a number of games here, but I don't think it ever, sort of however many games you play, it's always the next game that's the biggest. And you can see it's a little bit cagey, very much like the quarter-final against Sunderland.
One in there by McCormack. And now Manchester United can build. Gabriel, so good in tight spaces. Kakonki, who's already had a lot of first-team involvement. Halafu. Nathaniel Junior Brown. Patient possession for Manchester United, but Palace won't necessarily mind them having it here.
No, I think when you're the away team, you're happy to let the opposition have the ball when they're not creating too much. Obviously, you'd like to see United moving the ball a little bit quicker as they are now.
It's better in behind for Brown to try and get there, and has managed to win the corner off Halafu. That's good hustle by Nathaniel Junior Brown.
You can see when United move the ball quick that there is going to be space. Fantastic movement, a great ball by Thwaites, and brilliant movement again by Nathaniel Junior Brown. He's done well to win the corner.
Second set-piece chance for Manchester United. Jim Thwaites to take it. He's got a good delivery on him, and that is certainly a decent delivery. Headed over by Chido Obi. He just got his body slightly in an odd shape there. Didn't really manage to meet the ball with much momentum behind him.
No, making his presence felt again. It was sort of not got, like you say, not got his head over the ball. But again, it's encouraging for United. It's encouraging for Obi to be getting touches inside Crystal Palace's box.
Palace going direct, which is something we'll see often from them, wanting to get the likes of Angibo and Casey using their pace in behind. And they've managed to caused United a problem there.
Good defending from Dan Armour, getting his body across. Maybe gone down a little bit too easy to get the free kick, but he's done his job.
Too direct, looking for the run of Ajayi.
It's a little bit heavy by Kukonki, but I think that the space is there in the channels. You can see Darren Fletcher on screen there, happy with that idea. I think he just want the technique to be slightly better to give Obi the chance to get on the end of it.
Yeah, an interesting one, Fletcher. He elected to drop back to the under-18s, who he's coached since the start of the season, and not be part of the senior coaching team after Michael Carrick was made head coach for the rest of the season. He clearly valued being a #1 at under-18s level rather than making that step up.
Yeah, I spoke to Darren about it a few months ago, and in terms of what he loves doing is being on the grass. He loves being on the grass, he loves coaching, and he loves the development side of coaching as well, to give the opportunity. Obviously, he came through the academy system, he knows exactly what it's all about, and he's doing a fantastic job both in developing young players and, like you mentioned earlier, the results that they've had, particularly this year where they've won every game they've played.
Of course, he took interim charge as well with the first team for a couple of games after the departure of Ruben Amorim, used that to bring Kobbie Mainoo back into the 11. Mainoo, who's part of United's last FA Youth Cup winning team. Foul on Obi, exactly what you want, not for the first time tonight from Chido Obi. Good hold-up play on the halfway line, wins the free kick, gets the home team up the pitch.
He's doing a little bit of both tonight so far, Chido Obi, where he's coming to feet, he's showing, he's getting his body in, but also a couple of really good runs into the channel. So I'm sure he's the man that can really make things happen against this Crystal Palace back three. As I mentioned earlier, I think Palace went with a back three to deal with his threat, but he's still getting lots of touches early on in this game.
Great ball in behind, asking questions of Jacob Pasida. Brown does eventually get onto it. Brown, who's been at Manchester United since he was 12 years old. One of those who you sense will have an international eligibility decision to make one day if his career keeps progressing as it is. Could play for England, could play for Jamaica.
Not a bad problem to have if it means getting international football, but what he does so well is running behind. He's not afraid to get in behind the left backs and sort of get crosses into the box.
Gabriel, who, despite being 15, has so often been a shining light of Manchester United's under-18s team. So much so that some have been wondering when a first-team debut might be forthcoming. Halafu, allowed to keep running. It's still Halafu. It almost fell for Obi. Solid save from Benetton. Crystal Palace standing off and standing off some more and almost paying the ultimate price. One in there by Charlie Walker-Smith. United sensing a chance on the high press, but Palace play their way out nicely. Anderson ran straight into Rafe McCormack. Thwaites takes his time, invites Brown into the attack. Brown round the outside, dinks it in, and it's straight at Benetton. What a good chance for Chido Obi. Manchester United pushing and probing and testing Benetton twice in the space of a minute.
United really grown into this game now. Great play by Nathaniel Junior Brown, and Obi anywhere else he's got a chance of scoring, but he's done well to get up and get his head on it, but really needed to direct it a little bit better. And just before that, Halafu running through with a fantastic effort.
Yeah, very much the classic example there of the modern underlap, really, Halafu. There was an era more where you were playing where a right back ending up in that position would have probably prompted them to be dropped next time the team sheet was selected. But actually in this era, a right back coming inside and seeing a defence standing off is very much part of the game, and Halafu almost went all the way.
Yeah, I think he's able to do that so much easier because of how wide Nathaniel Junior Brown plays, and because he's not directly up against the winger, because of Palace's free at the back. It's given him the opportunity to come inside the game and make an impact there.
One by Gabriel, who picked the pocket of Joel Drakes-Thomas. I think they would have always expected that they'd have passages of play in this game where they didn't see a lot of the ball, but still wonder in this first quarter of an hour whether Crystal Palace might be a touch disappointed that not really seeing them have the ball in a dangerous area. But just as I say that, Angibo, maybe this is their moment. Casey Scored in the third round and the fourth round, where he got a couple, and in the quarter-final as well, and he's bought a free kick. That's exactly what the Eagles needed. Foul from Armour.
Yeah, I think Armour will be disappointed with that. It was a little bit of a clumsy one as Benji Casey's going away from goal, and it's just caught him, and it's put it in a dangerous area now. Like you say, we've not seen too much from Palace in an attacking sense tonight, but with their physicality, this is a great opportunity to get the ball in the box. Great effort, as we said there, from Halafu running through and inside the game. Good strike. I think it's quite a comfortable one for Luca Benetton, but unfortunately Obi wasn't there for the rebound.
I mentioned a couple of times Gabriel's age, but worth reinforcing that Luca Benetton is also just 15, the Palace keeper. Not a bad ball in, comes off Armour. Still there for Palace. Danaher. Benamar lost it. And well, there's an Olay from the home fans, but that was actually quite an important block from Benamar, because if he didn't get there in some capacity, the counter-attack was on. Yeah,
and also a really good chance for Charlie Walker-Smith there with the header. He well blocked from United, but like I say, good defending, tracking back, and Palace are going to be working their socks off this evening doing that.
Shot of the main stand there. I'm sure you can play a bit of a game of Where's Wally in terms of picking out some famous faces from both clubs who are watching. Here come Manchester United on the break. Chance, side netting. Well, it's always going to take something to score there from Noah Ajayi. The angles were against him, and there's a hand in the air of apologies for not squaring it.
Absolutely brilliant play from Jim Thwaites there, coming inside, and a great switch of play. And Ajayi, we know what he can do with the ball at his feet, and he's just took it at a near post when maybe the shot across goal would have been more effective. But again, lively play from Manchester United.
Ajayi on target in the 4-1 win at Oxford United at the Kassam in mid-February, and then scored the first goal just before half-time in the 3-2 home win for Manchester United against Sunderland. That came after 1-0 home win against Peterborough in the third round in early December, and they needed extra time to beat Derby here, 2-1 in January.
It's certainly been hard work for Manchester United to get to this stage of the tournament, as it has for Crystal Palace, but they've got the results in the end that sees them in the semi-final this evening.
Palace, meanwhile, finding life a little easier than Manchester United in the early stages. 3-0 home winners against Bradford in early December, 4-0 winners at Newcastle in late January. That was seen as a statement result. Slightly struggled in the fifth round away at Stevenage on a tricky pitch, as Benetton comes out, and all's well that ends well for Cedar clears. And then, of course, that 3-2 win at Villa for Palace in the quarter-final, comfortably their most impressive result of the four. This is a Villa side that last season were National League champions and FA Youth Cup winners as well. No foul from Benamar, who is then fouled himself by Halafu. Good attacking platform for Palace.
Yeah, good, really positive play from Benamar. I think Halafu's gone a little bit over the ball there, and it was a foul. But it's really interesting to see McCormack in the middle of the pitch for United, covering the spaces from the dangerous Anderson, who we haven't seen a huge amount from, but know that if he does get space, he can cause all sorts of trouble.
Can Palace get a good dead ball delivery in here?
The last one was very dangerous. We know their size, we know their physicality, and this is where they're going to be looking to make the most of the opportunities they've got to get the ball into the box.
Out-swinging and in-swinging options for Javier Alonso's side. It's a little dummy, and now it comes in from Danaher, and Burnhughes only just got there first. It's wide on the follow-up. And the referee didn't blow for a free kick there, so ultimately, had that been on target, it would have been 1-0 Crystal Palace, potentially. And there's also quite a serious injury, because when Burnhughes has got there first, he's seemingly cleaned out his opponent, who at one point was on the ground and seeming to not really be moving, which was always a high level of concern. At the very least, does seem to be up and speaking to medical staff.
No, it's very brave. You wouldn't see me going in with a goalkeeper like that. And we've seen throughout the tournament so far that Cameron Burnhughes is very brave and comes out, and he's got a fist there, not a brilliant fist, and the shot's coming in, like you say, if it goes in net, I think the goal would have been allowed.
Palace left to Roux, not taking the chance, and might also have to make an unwanted early change here. Slightly nervous moment for Burn Hughes. It was a brave punch in the sense that he got there first, but he managed to only palm it straight into harm's way. He's very much a local, born in Ashton-under-Lyme. You can't get much more Manchester than that. Second-year scholar. And one thing that really sums up just how highly rated he is as a ball-playing goalkeeper is he actually came on in a game once for the injured Anton Missin as an outfield player for the last portion of a match in a 3-0 win against Middlesbrough, because they used all their subs, but they were so confident in his ability as an outfield player, they said, you know what, take your keeper's kit off, borrow somebody else's shirt, and on you go. And for 20 minutes, he was more than comfortable playing centre mid.
I can imagine he was. He looks like a centre middle at times when he pings the ball around, finding the passes. But I think as a young goalkeeper, I think he's really encouraged to come for those crosses, to get used to coming out and to get your fist on it, try and catch it. And we've seen him do it a couple of times this evening. That wasn't a brilliant fist away, but at the same time, he still got to the ball first.
Thankfully, all okay with the necessary head and concussion checks, and Crystal Palace back to 11. Here come Manchester United. Thwaites, playmaker from central midfield, finds Brown. Thwaites sees a bit of space to roam into. Back for Halafu. Manchester United, of course, battling with Manchester City for the league crown. They're behind their arch rivals on goal difference, and they've played a game more, with United having just 4 games left in their season, City having 5. And there's been plenty of chat, those numbers when it comes to just the league, of course. There's been plenty of chat around Manchester about the possibility of those two meeting in the FA Youth Cup final, but Palace will have plenty to say about that. I know one source I spoke to at Palace was joking to me that a story from the Manchester Evening News that was already very much talking up the prospect of that FA Youth Cup final. He was slightly sarcastically saying to me, I'm not sure if he was being totally serious, but you knew the point he was making, that he said we'll have that pinned up on our dressing room.
Yeah, proper old school, get it pinned up, it motivate the Palace guys to go and try and get a result this evening. But I've been so impressed with Jim Thwaites so far this evening for Manchester United in the centre midfield, having a real impact in the game. Found it quite tough against Sunderland, against their energy, but tonight has been really on it.
Nice move this developing for Palace. And Gibo just concedes the foul on Armour, who was clever in the duel.
United certainly settled faster than Palace. I think that's where it really helps that last game. Like Darren Fletcher said at the start, they've had some experiences playing here before and look a lot more relaxed in the first 25 minutes or so this evening than they did against Sunderland. Palace is still growing into the game, but still offering a threat, particularly from them set plays.
Yeah, it says a lot about the esteem in which this competition is held, that under-18s games for Manchester United are normally held at the club's training complex, unless it's this, as Obi tries to go around the outside, shepherded out for a goal kick. But of course, with having had the Peterborough game in December, the Derby game in January, and the Sunderland game in March here, pretty much every single one of this matchday squad for Manchester United, even the ones that have only been around this season, have managed to get on the pitch at Old Trafford at some point, and that definitely helps with that psychological process of the nerves that come with a game like this.
Yeah, and also for the development of these players to have the opportunity to experience playing at Old Trafford next week in the Premier League final, playing at Selhurst Park. Like you say, a lot of tickets already sold for that. For all of these players on the pitch, that's priceless experience that they're receiving in playing in these stadiums in front of big crowds.
United continuing to put the pressure on. We've only got the eye test as opposed to your more detailed boffin nerd-based statistics when it comes to possession, but I'd say Manchester United must have had not far off 2/3 of the ball so far.
And I think Palace will be happy with that. The game's still goalless. Palace have still got their game plan, and I think they're sitting off United. They're letting them have the ball. United have had a few chances, but Palace will be quite happy as long as the ball doesn't end up in the back of the net.
Armour tries to go more direct, but was a little too direct. Dan Armour, who I know has been seen by some as a left-footed and quicker version of Harry Maguire, and one of the more underrated cogs in this under-18 team, Dan Armour. He's trained with the first team a fair bit across the last 2 seasons.
And again, that is such a massive experience for these players. I think even more so for a central defender and a defensive players to play against those top forwards that Manchester United got, even in training. They'll learn so much from doing that.
Yeah, and potentially it's also part of the life of a defender or a goalkeeper, occasionally being slightly made the fool out of, but that's part of the learning process as well, in a safe, quote-unquote, environment like that, as opposed to a game.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard playing against the likes of Cunha and Buemo in training, and that's where you learn the most, so playing against world-class players.
Palace looking for something on the break. Chuck Sokoli, who scored the winner against Villa in that dramatic late comeback. They really did leave it late. Rehan Anderson with one of the best goals you'll see all season in the 86th minute to equalise. A curler with his right foot into the far top corner, and then Okoli in the 2nd minute of stoppage time made the difference.
I think it was a real smash and grab from Crystal Palace, that playing against a really talented Aston Villa team who had the better of the majority of the game, a lot more chances, but Palace sticking in there and getting to the semi-final, which is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, no one well-placed source from an Aston Villa point of view was saying that they had a lot of good chances at 2-1 and just couldn't quite put them away, as Byrne Hughes almost gets himself in trouble here. Penalty appeals from Palace, and then that's a foul from Danaher. Maybe just being a little bit too clever, and Byrne Hughes just giving a sign to his defence there that should have been cleared before it got to him.
Yeah, he looks quite relieved, even a little grin on his face. But you can see how comfortable he is on the ball. But at times you want to maybe get rid of it, because that's brilliant pressure. And it's, for me, he's got on the ball, but it's dangerous territory.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's tight. I think I probably just about agree with you.
Fortunately, no VAR, as it may completely change our minds on that.
I was just about to say, yeah, very much old school when it comes to the FA Youth Cup. It's up to the 4 officials at the ground on the day to, between them, get to any decision, regardless of our television coverage. So that's late in from Okoli, the captain.
Yeah, Kohli looking a bit frustrated there, as you mentioned before, had real impact in this tournament so far, scoring a number of important goals, but not really been able to get into the game as much as you would have liked this evening. He's
got a reputation for scoring goals of the season. Here's Gabriel. It's Brown, in fact, who's got him behind. It's Halafu, and it was almost spilt by Benetton into the path of the waiting Obi. His heart rate will have settled a little bit more now. Having a real impact on the game, Brown, and gets it in. Halafu inside the game again, and you wonder if Javi Alonso may be thinking about changing the shape, because down the sides, Palace aren't offering much threat with the wing-backs at the moment, and maybe switching to that 4-3-3 that they've played in previous rounds might help them. We did see Dante Martin stripped and ready to come on about 4 minutes or so ago, which it would be a bold move, but it's something that he's done a few times this season, Alonso, where he's actually, at some point in the first half, seen that he's not quite happy with the plan, and he's made a sub where it hasn't been because one individual player has been playing badly, it's because he's decided he needs a different system, and he's felt like, actually, why wait? Yeah, and I do think with the way United play, and how dangerous both wide men have been this evening, it might be something to think about. Gabriel, Obi, Gabriel on the 1-2. Used his body intelligently, Walker-Smith. And had he not, there was trouble. Still there for United. Straight at Benetton. Gabriel's furious that he didn't get the pass. But there was an eye for goal that Rafe McCormack simply couldn't resist. Yeah, brilliant defending by Walker-Smith there, showing great strength, and then a bit of a loose pass, and McCormack higher up the pitch now getting a shot off. Good hands by Luca Benetton, who's looked solid in the Palace goal so far. Not a United local, McCormack, born in Bradford in Yorkshire, but has been here since he was 8 years old, first-year scholar. Slight block there was important off the leg of Armour, just to slow that counter-attack. Casey putting himself about on the break. They're the moments for Palace where you'll feel that they need to make more of them. That's the game plan, to nick the ball back and to be in them attacking positions. And Casey and Njibo struggled to get the shot off there where there was a good opportunity to get the ball into the box and get a shot off at Cameron Byrne-Hughes. Byrne-Hughes, such a good distributor from a position like this. So Palace standing off, and the game of poker continues. Byrne Hughes asked, how far do you fancy coming out? And he has for once given it away here. Benema. It's forced back though.
It does seem like a game of cat and mouse with the Palace forwards and Byrne Hughes. He was allowed to come a long, long way there, but then they're on it and trying to nick it back and be in them attacking positions.
A little too much on the header from a United point of view. And the change is going to happen now, so this is intriguing. Almost exactly on the half-hour mark, Crystal Palace go to their bench. It's Dante Martin, the 17-year-old, who's a pacey and versatile attacking midfielder or forward who's coming on. And I don't think you need to be a body language expert to read, but it's not exactly the happiest of bunnies coming off. I think disbelief is the emotion.
Well, you do feel for that happening, obviously, an early one. I'm not sure if it was the crack on the head that he got earlier when going in with the goalkeeper, but it's really disappointing to see, and obviously on such a big night playing at Old Trafford and coming off in the first half. It's not what you want to see, but you do worry if there was a bang on the head with Angibo that it will be the right decision. You can see him pointing his head there. He went in with Byrne Hughes earlier in the game.
Yeah, I think you are right, but the only thing that's a little bit confusing with that is he was checked by the medics at the time and was considered fine to carry on. He's now being brought off and speaking to the medics. You can understand David Angibo's frustration in the sense that he's probably thinking, well, if I was allowed to play on at the time, having completed what was needed, how can it be that quite a long way after that in the game I'm brought off? But the change is made. Dante Martin is on. It's a straight swap in that forward line, so it's not necessarily really a change of system for Crystal Palace, we'd expect, albeit we'll wait and see.
No, definitely expecting a change of shape with the way that the game's so far and the early sub, but obviously disappointment for Angibo there coming off, but maybe they've seen something the way that he was moving, or maybe felt that he weren't with it as much as he was before that head injury, and it's such a shame because it's such a massive night for the young lad.
Yeah, you have to feel for him. He's been in a real purple patch of late. He had an early season goal drought, but since he scored off the bench a big goal against Fulham in the league in mid-October, he's been a big part of the Crystal Palace story, joining the under-11s from Chelsea. Palace have made it a bit of a good habit over the years of picking up players released by the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs and West Ham, and then sharpening and managing to refine those diamonds into their own high-quality prospects. Anderson looking to win it. Benema. Coley. This is a rare occasion where Palace have got the ball with United sat in a low block, not too interested in pressing high.
Yeah, I think this will be good for Palace. Get some touches on the ball, keep possession for a period of time and really settle into it. It's not been the best start for them, but in terms of the game plan, I'm sure that they were prepared to give up to possession tonight and sort of look to hit United on the break. I think United will be quite pleased that Angibo's come off because he was a real handful up there.
Two coaches living every moment on the touchline. Alonso on the left, with experience previously at youth levels for Atletico Madrid and Rayo Vallecano. Darren Fletcher, of course, with an esteemed playing career and then has been in the United setup for a number of years. Chance to cross for Benema. It is a good cross and it's wide from Casey arriving, who knows what a good chance that was for Palace to grab the lead, but as it was, not even close to testing Byrne Hughes.
Absolutely brilliant from Dean Benema, though. He's threatened to do that a couple of times, but this time he's got all the way forward. Really powerful running. Does fantastic to beat Halafu and Junior Brown, and the cross is fantastic. And you feel like it's a great opportunity for Benji Casey. He's just got there at the right time, but not been able to direct his header. Probably the best chance of the game for me so far.
You can see from moments like that why Dean Benema signed a professional contract with Palace last summer. Gabriel was trying to shimmy inside. It came off Walker-Smith just to slow things up. Thwaites. Team Benamar has also made his senior debut for Palace, playing against the Finnish champions KUPS in the Conference League. Didn't just play, but got a start and had an accomplished hour before being taken off in a comfortable win. Obi. Thwaites. Thought of shooting, and now does. And even on his so-called weaker foot, it was a decent effort from Jim Thwaites. One you'd still expect Benetton to save, and he did. But more positive signs for the home side. Palace still haven't had a shot on target, I make it, yet, or certainly not one that's been a real test for Bernhughes, if there has been one.
No, it's a comfortable save for Benetton. Obviously, he's got to make it, but brilliant again from Thwaites in the middle of the pitch.
Brown. Slight deflection. Away by Fasida. Halafu. Links up with Thwaites. Halafu again coming into those central areas. Got discovered playing for his local grassroots team against a Manchester United under-12s team, Halafu. As Brown almost skipped through. Now Thwaites crosses, it wasn't his best. Halafu does get there though. Gabriel with the fast feet. Kukonki. Obi. On the turn. Hurriedly cleared by Benetton. It got a nick on the way through. Slightly dancing with a tightrope back there, Palace. Foul from Casey. The pressure very much remains on the Eagles.
Yeah, very good from United. They're keeping the ball in and around the box. And I think a real impressive part of this performance in the first half has been Yul Halafu getting in them inside positions. We saw it again there, and he's causing real problems. And that's why maybe if Palace played with someone higher on in the wide areas, it might give them the opportunity to stop him doing that.
Brown. Thwaites. Manchester United suffering heartbreak in the semi-final of this competition last season, trying to avoid it again. They won the treble the season before. Palace, meanwhile, chasing a first FA Cup youth final since 1997. There's an entire generation of Palace fans who haven't been alive to see it. Kukonki. Still going here. Palace sandwich of Drakes Thomas and Walker Smith did enough to deal with it. Armour stepped up. Kukonki's got room to keep it in. Palace just can't get out at the moment. Drakes Thomas looks up and doesn't see a lot of options. Tries to thread one through for Casey. Armour's there to tidy up. In fact, it was Albert Mills doing the tidy. Brown wins the header. Benamar wins the second one. And in steps Albert Mills. Brown with space. Has Obi and Gabriel. Might not need them. Crucial challenge just to stem the flow of United momentum, and suddenly it's Palace on the break. If they can work this quickly, it's a 3-on-3. It's Chuksakoli. Kohli's ball in wildly over here, trying to find Casey. It might run for Anderson. Just beaten to it by Noah Ajayi.
I think that just really strong running from Palace there, particularly with Chuksakoli. The first time he's really been able to run forward because of the pressure that Manchester United have had. And just before that, the first time we've seen Godwill Kukonki get forward and causing a real threat inside the box with his pace and power.
Kukonki, someone who brings with him so much experience from that senior team back into a level like this. This is someone who last season was very regularly training amongst the senior team. He's been an unused sub for them on 6 occasions. He was part of the treble winners at under-18 level a couple of seasons back. As Gabriel's beaten to the punch by a Kohli. I know one friend of mine from Manchester United TV described Kukonki coming back to play for the under-18s now as a cheat code on a PlayStation game. That's wide from Ajayi. Always looked ambitious from out there, but he is capable of the spectacular.
Yeah, we saw that against Sunderland, a similar position where he's cut inside, and he's been a threat tonight. I think it's down the other flank where United have been at their strongest, with Halafu and Nathaniel Junior Brown, who have done some brilliant work, and Jim Thwaites in the middle. More brilliant work from Chuck Zakoli there after making a long run forward on the left-hand side, getting back in there and thwarting Gabriel in the box.
Just 5 minutes or so plus stoppages to go in this first half. Crucial mini period of play. If either side can grab the lead, it really changes the momentum. Chance to run for Drakes Thomas. Shimmies back and Kakonki deals with the threat well.
Wonderful switch of play there to get Drakes Thomas on the ball, and he sort of got half a yard but couldn't get the cross away, but showing that he can be a real threat. And if Palace get through to half-time and the scores are still all square, I think they'll be the happier of the two teams.
Joel Drakes Thomas, another player to keep an eye on. Crystal Palace's youngest ever player in the Premier League era, and their 4th youngest player of all time. He got player of the match on his debut. Only John Bostock, Alex Winter and Phil Hudley have played for the club when they were younger at senior level. Cross way too close to Byrne Hughes, who's keen to start the counter-attack against a Palace defence that's far from set.
Really positive goalkeeping again there from Byrne Hughes to get United onto the attack quickly.
Halafi trying to thread it through for Ajayi. Or Obi, always willing runners for United going forward. McCormack. They are a team, and you'll get a fair bit of this across the FA Youth Cup, that if you love your old school numbers, are great for that, Manchester United. 2, 4, 3 and 5 across the back, the 6 holding in midfield. You know, there's a certain more traditional football fan that doesn't quite like seeing the way you might get a team sheet now where nobody on it pretty much has got a number lower than 11.
No, you always get that in the Youth Cup, or youth football in general. There's no high numbers or names on the back of the shirt. How it should be, back to the old days.
Well, I guess there's a little bit of that sense of it's almost like you've got to earn the chance to have the name on the back of your shirt by getting to senior level. There was a really nice interview actually with Drakes Thomas when he made his Palace debut, talking about just going into the dressing room at Selhurst and seeing a Palace shirt with his surname on the back of it, or in his case his 2 surnames for the first time, and that really hitting home to him the occasion that he was about to be part of. Yeah,
and memories that you never forget. To see that name on the back of the shirt is a very special moment.
Chance for United. And Ajayi just slowed down. It's an injury for Palace in the process of what was a very solid challenge.
Chidobe in a really good position again, but really strong defending from Charlie Walker-Smith, who's defended the box really well tonight. Let's hope that that's not an injury, because he seems to have gone down in a bit of pain here.
Welsh under-19 international. Got his first goal for his country in a 2-0 win against the Netherlands not too long ago, and signed a professional contract back in 2024. I know that if he hadn't have had a couple of badly timed injuries, there's every chance that the Welsh defender might have already made his Palace senior debut by now, such as the respect that he's thought of right through the system.
Certainly seems to have the physical prowess to do that. I think a lot of the time for young defenders it's about getting bigger, stronger, but Walker-Smith seems to be able to hold his own and would be able to against older players, but I'm not sure if they're looking potentially another sub here, which would not be good news for Javier Alonso, having already lost David Ajibo early on in the game.
We're just ticking towards first half stoppage time, so it means that we are definitely going to get a decent chunk of added on time as well at the end of this half, and Alonso having to rearrange in terms of options on the bench. He's got Hugo Bull, the midfielder. He's got Caden Moses and Dylan Monk, who are both quite versatile. The most likely option, I would say, could be Kyan Fraser-Williams, who is naturally a pacey and athletic fullback, potentially asking him to slot in at that right centre-back role
Yeah, maybe a change of shape if the centre, obviously Charlie Walker-Smith is massive to this plan with 3 at the back that Palace have played so far, and if he has to come off, maybe rather than put a full-back into that position, they may change it around a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see. Let's just hope that Charlie Walker-Smith's not too bad and he can carry on, but it's not looking too clever at the moment.
Yeah, known for being a modern passing centre-back who can do a nice mix of the old school and then the way modern centre-back duties have gone, but that doesn't look promising. I'm sure Palace will want to do everything they can to keep him on, and they'll know that if he could just survive through until half-time, the physio will get 15 minutes to do his magic then. But that can be a risk in and of itself, because you end up potentially having him out there for what could be 5 or 6 minutes of stoppage time while not fully fit. Palace down to 10 as the corner is taken. It wasn't a good one. Didn't beat the first defender of Thwaites. Of Okoli, sorry, from Thwaites' ball in.
They were disappointed with the delivery into the box there from Jim Thwaites, because obviously with Walker-Smith off the pitch, it was an opportunity to really challenge Palace in the air.
Brown. Palace still down to 10, having to rearrange with Okoli slotting into the back line, but now, to their relief, Walker-Smith slightly gingerly limps back on. Brown. And exactly as predicted, with his 6 minutes minimum added on to the back end of this first half. So still plenty of time for either side to find the breakthrough.
Like you say, Charlie Walker-Smith's not looking comfortable out there at all. I'm sure they're going to try and get him through to half-time and try and patch him up, but it is a massive risk with 6 minutes added on.
Benetton almost lost it. And I just wonder there whether in the back of his mind was Walker-Smith's injury, because he seemed a little reluctant to play the ball in that direction, and that was part of what put Luca Benetton in trouble. Here is Walker-Smith.
Yeah, he keeps getting the ball. I bet he's wishing that it stays away from him for the next 5 or 6 minutes, because I think he's really struggling there.
Yeah, you can just see put his hands on his knees and is now slightly limping back. Somahid. Trying to flick one through was Dante Martin. Ended up with Halafu, who's been busy in this first half.
Halafu's been very eye-catching this evening, getting in them inside positions, playing in the pockets as a modern-day right-back as we see it all the time now in the Premier League.
17 years old, and yet is widely expected to step up into being an under-21s regular next season. And I think that in and of itself tells you the mark of how he's thought of at Old Trafford.
Yeah, if you're good enough, you're old enough. That's always been the way, and obviously Darren Fletcher will be looking to push him up into the 21s to get even more fantastic experience.
Now here we go. For those who like their poker, we've got another game with just how far is Cameron Byrne-Hughes allowed to go. He got about 10 yards further forward than he is now earlier on, before the press came from Martin. Now Byrne-Hughes decides that's far enough. Gets one forward towards Obi.
He certainly doesn't panic in possession, Cameron Byrne-Hughes, that's for sure. He's happy to have the ball at his feet and wait for that movement and look to find the passes. And he's looked to get Chido Obi in over the top there. I'm not sure if that was offside or a little handball.
I think it was just a slight handball in trying to bring it down. There was a viral video of all of the clips of Byrne-Hughes on the ball in Manchester United's win against Nottingham Forest by 5-2 earlier this season, that went and got millions of views on social media, with particularly excited Manchester United fans commenting that, you know, this is the highlights reel you'd expect to see of someone like a Darren Fletcher, a ball-playing central midfielder, not of your goalkeeper. Such was his comfortability with the ball at his feet, and he actually got an assist in that game as well. And he also got a secondary assist, one where essentially it was his ball forward that led to a cross, which led to a goal, as well as one direct ball over the top, but direct not in the sense of your more old school, just lumping it long and hope. It was clearly very deliberately done.
No, without doubt, a very gifted young man with a ball at his feet, but also a very good goalkeeper. Let's not look further away than that as well. Comes for crosses, makes saves, but it does offer him something a little bit extra, having that ability with the ball at his feet.
Anderson in the 10 role has linked play really well. This is one of Palace's best passing moves of the match. Benamar has lots of options. One of them is here in the form of Martin. Just slightly loses the momentum as he finds Danaher. That's a great ball. Kept alive by Drakes Thomas. Kokonki can clean up though. But ran straight into Coley. Space out here for Benamar. Possibilities for Palace. Benamar with the funky footwork. It's a good cross to match as well. It's kept alive by Drakes Thomas. Martin was there waiting to put it in. One of Palace's best spells of the game, this. Drakes Thomas decides to go himself and just gets underneath it. Joel Drakes Thomas, and Manchester United can breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, strong end to the half from Palace, probably the best spell of the game so far. Benamar is a massive threat down this left-hand side, again getting to the byline, again a fantastic cross into the middle, ends up at the feet of Drakes Thomas, who comes inside but can't get his head over the ball and hit the target.
But again, you just see those moments from Joel Drakes Thomas. You can see why he got a senior debut against KUPS in the Conference League phase at Selhurst Park earlier this season, whilst he was just over 16 and a half years old. This is someone who was playing for the under-21s as a 15-year-old, which again, there's playing an age group up, and then there's playing, as he did there, 3 or 4 age groups up, depending on how you define it.
No, and with the most gifted players, or the perceived most gifted players, that they want to do that. They want to get them up. They want them playing up age groups, is to experience different ways of playing, to experience playing against different teams. And it's brilliant to hear. I mean, Palace have got more first-team experience on the pitch than United tonight.
Kokonki did get it across and headed wide. A golden chance for Chido Obi, the best chance either side have had in this first half. And Obi, who scored in the 3rd round, the 4th, the 5th and the quarter-final, couldn't find the target here.
Brilliant, brilliant cross from Kokonki. I think Halafu's been the main attacking threat from the fullbacks tonight, but you see there what he's capable of. Really good movement from Chido Obi, but again, can't get the header on target, and another fantastic chance gone begging, which United may live to regret.
We're speaking about first-team experience. Chido Obi started in May 2025 for Manchester United against Brentford as someone who was just under 17 and a half. But Chido Obi not quite able to convert right on the stroke of half-time, and Manchester United, for all they've had more of the possession and more of the pressure and more of the chances, with nothing to ultimately show for it at the break in this tight and tense Youth Cup semi-final. Crystal Palace offering plenty of threat on the counter-attack. At half-time, it's Manchester United 0, Crystal Palace 0. Let's take a look back at the highlights of that first half. Might have been goalless, but there was certainly no shortage of goal mouth action. More of it coming for Luca Benetton to deal with, starting with that underlapping run from Yul Halafu.
Yeah, a real big part of the first half was Halafu coming inside and getting shots off, making passes, and he done really, really well and was a massive threat throughout.
Cross here from Brown, and Obi will have been disappointed there that it was a header that was a simple save for Benetton from 6 yards or so out. He didn't quite get the power behind it he'd have wanted.
No, I think Obi will be happy that he's getting those chances, though.
And this was probably Palace's best chance of the half. Dean Benamar hits it wide, and had it been on target, the goal would have stood, because Burnhughes ultimately got to the ball first. The referee didn't deem there was a foul in there.
Yeah, I don't think it was a foul, and it ended up being a good opportunity for Palace. Fortunately for United, it went wide, but a real good chance.
Slightly nervy moment for Burnhughes here, who had to go flying in on David Angibo after almost losing it, but referee judging that Burnhughes got the touch in the sliding tackle, otherwise that would have been a penalty.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see that again. I don't know if he does go through the foot to get to the ball.
And then Brown had a busy first half and was creating again here. Halafu finding Benetton, who almost accidentally coughed it up for Obi to score.
Yeah, real threat down the right-hand side. Again, Halafu coming inside the game and getting another shot off.
Gabriel almost got the 1-2 there from Obi, but nice recovering work from Charlie Walker-Smith, and then McCormack decided to strike one.
Yeah, easy one for Luca Benetton there. Another shot on target, but really good hands from the young goalkeeper, but not really a threat.
This was a notable moment. To his visible disbelief, David Angibo brought off, to his great frustration, seemingly communicated from the bench that it was related to when Angibo went down in that incident that saw him cleaned out by Burnhughes. But it is worth pointing out, it was quite a long way in the game after that had happened. And then not long following that sub, Benji Casey with a great chance.
He'll be really disappointed, Casey. Fantastic work from Dean Benamar to get the ball across, and really could do better there with a header.
And then this, I say the best till last. Well, it was certainly the best chance for either side in the first half. Chido Obi ultimately unable to hit the target after a nice overlapping run from Godwill Kokonki, and that ultimately means that at the break we are as we started. Extra time and penalties available in the tank if we need them. We'll be back for the second half very shortly. Don't go too far. At half-time, it's Manchester United 0, Crystal Palace 0.
Okay.
Warm welcome back to Old Trafford for the second half of this FA Youth Cup final. A nice, not too cold spring evening after the sunshine had been out earlier on. But who will the sun shine on tonight in terms of reaching the final? Manchester City away awaits the winner. Crystal Palace attacking from left to right in this second half. Manchester United kicking from right to left, and not too surprisingly, because he was limping right before the interval, Charlie Walker-Smith has come off and Hugo Bull will come on in his place.
A real shame there for Charlie Walker-Smith, who was excellent in the first half, defended the box really well, and sort of, I'm not sure if it was an ankle or a knee injury in that sort of incident with Chido Obi that resulted in a corner, but it's an opportunity now for Hugo Bull. I'm sure that it will fill the void left by Charlie Walker-Smith, and an opportunity for him to I'm sure, fulfill a dream and play at Old Trafford.
So Manchester United having the better of the first half without finding a goal to match it, and Crystal Palace now having to deal with two different substitutions due to injury, David Angibo and Charlie Walker-Smith off, which only makes the task even tougher for the visitors. But they are a team that's having one heck of a season. They, of course, are into the Premier League Cup final at Selhurst Park next Wednesday. They will face Manchester United and a third in the Southern League. And we are pretty quickly starting the second half with something we saw a few times in the first. A little game of deal or no deal. How far does Cameron Byrne-Hughes dare coming out? I think that's the furthest he's come, and it's a missed kick from Somaid. Possibilities for United. Scrambled away, Drake Thomas. Slightly heavy touch from Okoli. And in there is McCormack. Kakonki back to Armour.
The second half certainly started how the first half ended, with United dominating possession. But Palace, what they've shown, as we know from the game against Aston Villa in the quarter-final, incredible resilience, and they will stay in the game, I'm sure, until the very end and give themselves the opportunity.
Yeah, and for all Manchester United might have had the better of the first half, I'm sure that actually, quietly, Javier Alonso will be somewhat pleased, because it is still, ultimately, as we started, goalless.
Yeah, I'm sure Darren Fletcher was pleased with elements of United's play, particularly in the attacking third, maybe not the finishing so much. But as you say there, I'm sure Javier Alonso is feeling the happier of the two managers, because the games are all square and United have had the better of it.
Cut out by Somaid. Inside by Brown. Shooting chance dragged wide by Chido Obi, who hasn't quite been at his brilliant best in front of goal tonight by the very high standards that he set for himself.
No, he's getting in the positions, though. I think he'll be happy with that. He's probably seen a lot more of the ball in the attacking areas than he did against Sunderland. But again, Jim Thwaites there showing his range of passing, the repertoire that he's got, and shown this evening has been first class in the United central midfield.
Well, I take back what I said about Obi's finishing. It did take a nick on the way through, and it's a Palace corner. It's a United corner, I should say, which Thwaites delivers. So, not particularly threatening header from Armour, who now has to scurry back, with Benetton fancying a quick bit of distribution. He's had quite the season, Luca Benetton. He only even joined up with the under-18s for the first time in November of last year, but he's played his way into being their regular keeper, despite being just 15 years old. He turned 16 in the 8th of August later on this year. Yes, slightly overhit for Brown.
So impressive at that age, 15 years old, to be selected as the first team. We talk about Gabriel so much, obviously the 15-year-old playing in the under-18s team, but as a goalkeeper you feel like that's even more responsibility on that. So the club obviously think a lot of him, and he's shown why at times tonight with a couple of really good saves and some very good handling.
Yeah, for those of you who'd like to be made to feel old, you may have already worked it out, but born in 2010, Luca Benetton. I imagine plenty of our more middle-age or senior viewers can remember exactly where they were in 2010, as that is lost by Manchester United, and it's cleared straight back to them in the form of Kokonki from the mistake by Bull, who doesn't pay the ultimate price for it, but you wouldn't blame Hugo Bull for being pretty nervous here. It's not an easy game to come on in. Flick round the corner, came to nothing from Casey.
It's really good defending from Hugo Bull there, as Ajayi was a real threat down the left, won the ball back but then gave it straight back to United, and some nice little interplay but didn't come off. I'm sure United will want to get Gabriel on the ball a little bit more.
What a pass that is. It might have not quite worked, but you could certainly appreciate the vision. It would have been offside though had he managed to get onto it. The flag was going up on a preliminary basis from the assistant.
Yeah, again, Thwaites, that passing range that he's got is fantastic off both his right and left foot, which is so impressive.
Smashed away by Benetton. Flick on, inviting the run of Casey, who won't get there. This fixture does have a particular place in FA Youth Cup history, because this was the two teams that faced off in the final that will always be remembered as the year of the class of '92. Manchester United won 6-3 on aggregate, 8,000 watching at Selhurst, as the Red Devils won 3-1. Nicky Butt scoring twice, David Beckham was on the score sheet, Stuart McCall scored for Palace. Let us know if you have any idea what happened to any of those in terms of their careers afterwards. And I'm, of course, being deeply sarcastic. Gary Neville captained Manchester United that night, and then it was 3-2 in the game at Old Trafford, where 15,000 watched on. Palace actually scored first, but Ben Thornley, Simon Davies and Colin McKee scored for Manchester United once upon a time. But of course this time it's a semi-final matchup rather than the final, but that year holds a particular place in United history, of course, for what that class of '92 went on to do. Coley, rare chance for Palace to attack, but quickly ended by Benamar's shove on Brown.
Yeah, not a bad youth team, that class of '92. I'm sure they all went on to do something, but also such a important part of this club's history, and players like myself that came in after that to see what those players achieved gave you so much hope that if you worked hard enough, you done well enough, that you would get an opportunity in the first team. And I think all of those players deserve so much credit for what they've done for this football club and the way that they're still spoke about today.
Yeah, you got thousands of first team appearances out of that particular crop. Just saw a shot of David Angibo and Charlie Walker-Smith on the bench there. You have to feel for those two. It's a big occasion that would have meant so much to both of them, and spending the second half watching on injured would have been not part of any of their pre-match visualisations when they had their head on the pillow last night.
Yeah, so disappointing for them, but part of the game as well, something that you've got to deal and learn with disappointment. Injuries happen in the game, even in the biggest games here, and although not ideal, still lessons that can be learned from that to understand the disappointment that comes with playing football at times.
Obi loses the aerial battle against Somaid. That's been a running contest to keep an eye on. No foul on Bull. Jai in there trying to make a nuisance of himself.
Hugo Bull started really well defensively against the dangerous Noah Ajayi.
Closed down by Gabriel. Bull has to be wary here and has his pocket picked by Obi. It's Ajayi. Has lots of options. Couldn't quite find any of the 4 red shirts in the box. Mills. He's dealt with really efficiently. And Palace get the throw as well. That's nice hustle from Okoli. Exactly what you want from your covering number 6 central defensive midfielder.
Brilliant work rate from Benji Casey there, getting back as well. As a centre forward, you don't want to be in that area of the pitch, but he's really got back with down Albert Mills and stopped him getting forward as he came through the lines there for Manchester United.
A little bit scrappy as Conke wins it, and then ends up with Palace in the form of Dana. Bull. Manchester United really noticeably on high press in the last few minutes. That's won by McCormack, who draws the foul neatly.
Always an option in the centre of midfield. Rafe McCormack sits a little bit deeper behind Jim Thwaites and Gabriel, who get the attention because of their forward play, but does a brilliant job in that defensive midfield role, and brilliantly worked on Anderson as well, who's such a threat for Crystal Palace.
We're into another game of Cameron Byrne-Hughes just edging the ball forward. Palace seeing how far he dares to go. Casey is sniffing an opportunity.
I think Palace will be quite happy with this. They're taking the sting out the game. There's not really that as much as attacking intent from United. They're not getting in behind. They're not creating many chances so far. And they're letting Cameron Byrne-Hughes have the ball, and he can have it. He's not going to hurt the team, Palace team, from back there, and they can get organised. And they are looking very organised at the start of this second half, despite the changes they've had to make.
Given away in there by Drakes Thomas. Almost 10 minutes gone in this second half, and as Luke Chadwick alluded to alongside me, Palace probably the happier tactically with the 10 minutes of football that we've seen since the restart. Good scrap for the ball between the 2 number 8s, and it's won by Ewan Danaher. Intercepted by Armour. Just jumping back as well to that mention of the class of 1992 and the final in this competition they had against Crystal Palace. There is a bit of a misremembering about the way they all came through, as if they were in the exact same group. There was David Beckham, of course, Ryan Giggs, Gary Neville and Nicky Butt, who were all part of the 92 and were Premier League winners by 1996. But Paul Scholes actually only came in the year after. He was a runner-up in the 93 Youth Cup, and then Phil Neville was the captain in the winning team in 1995. But most of them, of course, grouped around that 1992 triumph, and the rest, as they say, is history, or as Alan Hansen once said, you can't win anything with kids. As Hugo Bull commits the foul and being a little too overeager to try and get Palace going forward.
A really stop-start to this second half. Neither team have really got going so far. Not many chances created. I think Crystal Palace will be happy with that, happy with a lot of restarts and sort of looking to grow into the game a little bit more. But while it stays goalless, they're going to be the ones that are looking to make some chances and to really push on in this last half hour, 35 minutes or so.
Attendance confirmed as 3,189 here at Old Trafford tonight. Chance for Palace on the break, and had that pass got through, Casey was one-on-one, and it's now Casey with support. Just lost his footing, spilled by Byrne-Hughes, and trying to scramble it in is Martin. They still can't get it away, Manchester United, and now they do through Mills. A real let-off for the home team.
Really important challenge from Jim Thwaites getting back in there. Cameron Byrne-Hughes has pushed it back into the danger areas. Palace broke really dangerously, but he's done well to get back in there, and Palace now showing their threat.
Drakes Thomas wins the throw off Kakonki.
It's always such a risk when you've created a lot of chances and you don't take them. It gives the opposition hope, and Palace are looking to really grow into this second half now, and that without doubt is the best chance we've had of it so far.
Desperate to write a bit of history, Crystal Palace. Only won this trophy twice. Back in 77 and 78, both 1-0 wins against Everton and Aston Villa, and defender Terry Fenwick popped up with a winner in both of those, and later on England legend Kenny Sampson was part of the 78 crew. That gives you an idea of just how far back Palace are going to try and add a new bit of history to that.
You do feel that as the game goes on and there's no goals, it would maybe United who get the nervery of the two, being the home team in front of a really good crowd here at Old Trafford, that Palace might get some hope for that, and they're starting to really grow into this game now, as we saw with Sunderland at this sort of stage in the last round.
Coley just over here. There's a thumbs up of appreciation from Benji Casey, who he is that kind of striker who doesn't necessarily need a lot of service to score a goal. He's already scored 4 on the FA Youth Cup journey this season. Benji Casey, good at those runs in behind, and he's made his senior debut in a 3-0 win at Shelbourne in the Conference League under Oliver Glasner, who targeted that particular competition as a chance to steadily integrate some of Palace's promising youngsters into first-team opportunities.
And what he is such a willing runner up there. He works his socks off. He can see the attitude that he's got that will give him a fantastic opportunity, and he's not giving United a minute's peace, other than when Cameron Byrne-Hughes has got the ball here and he rightly drops off and just lets him have it.
And it's the game of poker again. Byrne-Hughes content to settle a little further back than he has at some points tonight.
Brilliant from Casey again there, though, getting close and not letting Den Armour play out and keeping them at that back line and not playing through the lines. Palace's setup's been very, very good at the start of this second half.
And it's lost by Ajayi, who would have been relieved to see covering behind.
Great ball in, and then that save has pushed it back into the danger area. But look at Thwaites there, brilliant central midfield covering to stop what probably would have been a certain goal there.
Yeah, there was a very notable moment when Thwaites played in a pre-season game under Ruben Amorim, when Amorim came out in an interview with Manchester United TV and proactively picked him out as a youngster for his performance, and that being exactly the kind of attitude he wants to see. And I know it was seen as a big statement that when not even being asked directly about any player, Amorim chose to pick him out. And I know few thought he might get a senior debut. He almost did under Ruben Amorim, as that's a great run by Ajayi. Manchester United corner.
Yeah, Ajayi's showing his strength again there, dribbling with the ball, having a little wriggle, and does really, really well to beat Nathaniel, to beat Joel Drakes-Thomas, and wins the corner.
It's a rare bit of threat for Manchester United, who haven't quite carried the threat going forward in this second half as they did in the first. Gabriel's cross. Benetton a little bit uncertain, and wide on the follow-up from Nathaniel Junior Brown.
Really dangerous ball by Gabriel. Again, the young goalkeeper Benetton coming out and getting his fists on it, but United were looking to get Gabriel on the ball a lot more. I don't think they fed him enough in the first half. That was down to the really hard work of Okoli shutting off them passing lanes in the first half. But as the game goes on and the game sort of opens up, oh, there's the injury. Such a shame to see Charlie Walker-Smith there. He's got all iced up. Hopefully the swelling won't be too much.
Yeah, just from the way he was limping around the back end of that first half in stoppage time, it was very clear he didn't want the ball at his feet at all. It always felt like a doubt that we'd see him return in the second half, as Danaher, Benamar and Danaher combining run out of room. But Palace can build now. Bit of space for Drakes-Thomas. Helps it on and wants the 1-2 off Anderson and gets it. Still Drakes-Thomas. Needed the intervention from McCormack covering in behind.
Yeah, again, Palace growing into the game. I think you're starting to see now the game opening up a little bit, and what always happens, or usually happens in the under-18s games, with so much sort of emotional energy that's used, the game will open up as we approach the last 30 minutes or so.
Manchester United still have all 5 changes up their sleeve. Palace have Used a couple already, enforced due to injury. First corner of the second half for Palace. What can they make of it? Dean Benamar to deliver. Goes short for Drakes-Thomas. Benamar turns and spins. Solid challenge from Noah Ajayi.
I think the Palace staff, the players in the box, were really disappointed with that. But they caused United the main problems in the first half with set plays coming in. And we know the delivery that Benamar's got, and to play short there, you feel the better option would have been to whip one in the box and try and test Cameron Burn-Hughes some more.
I'd expect Manchester United were quietly happy with that plan. Changes coming for Manchester United, it seems. Rare bit of poor distribution from Burn-Hughes. Anderson, always a threat. Chance for Drakes-Thomas to run. Stopped emphatically by Kokonki, who, even with his pace, can't quite keep it alive.
Well, we're starting to see a little bit more now of Anderson and Drakes-Thomas being wide and getting on the ball, and it's the Palace sort of threats that are getting on it more than the United threats at this moment in time.
No doubt, Palace's best spell of the game. Looks like Samuel Lusale is ready to come on, and that's particularly intriguing because he was signed by Manchester United from, yep, you guessed it, Crystal Palace.
Oh, made for him to come on and make an impact in this game, playing against his former club.
And it's going to be Nathaniel Junior Brown who comes off. Now, that is a slight surprise because for my two penneth, Junior Brown, who scored that goal into the roof of the net to win the quarter-final against Sunderland, was one of, if not United's brightest player in the first half.
Excellent first half from Junior Brown. Struggled to have the impact in the second half. And I think it's an opportunity to freshen things up a little bit and look to find a little bit more extra threat.
So on comes Samuel Lusale against his old club with a chance to be the difference. Sent forward but overhit for Anderson. And now a chance for Manchester United on the break. Lusale's first touches, and they're very good. Obi has lots of support. It's Lusale. Lusale rolls it across, begging for a finish. And Ajayi had just held back, maybe even expecting that Lusale might shoot from that angle. And had he gambled, it's probably 1-0.
Yeah, fantastic impact from Lusale. Straight on the pitch, straight going there. You thought he may have played Chido Obi in a little bit earlier, but done great there to get on the end of it and to cut the ball across. Unfortunately, Ajayi didn't make it into that far post to get on the end of the cross.
Lusale had quite a spell out injured at the start of this year, but has managed to get himself back in time for this semi-final opportunity. Thwaites. Lovely link-up, what's at the end of it? And then Obi shielding himself, and a desperate intervention from Drakes-Thomas. All hands to the pump for Crystal Palace.
Absolutely brilliant wide man play by Drakes-Thomas there. In that it's had an impact going forward, but this side of the game is as important to get back there and to make that tackle. Ajayi's got a great chance if he doesn't do it. Brilliant work rate by Joel Drakes-Thomas.
And by Thwaites. Nice confident punch from Benetton. Casey has managed to win it. Now trying to take on Manchester United on his own, and has drawn the foul. And this will be the first yellow card of the game as well. The referee signalling that it's for repeated fouls as well from Albert Mills.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a foul on Lusale to start with, but again, what comes to fruition is Benji Casey's incredible work rate, and I think there has been a few fouls, and it was the booking was at the right time for Albert Mills.
Definitely one to keep an eye out on Casey. Scored goals right through the Palace youth systems. Oliver Glasner said when giving him his senior debut that he's been scoring lots of goals. He's got a great profile. He's really impressed us in training. He really deserves it. Here's Gabriel. Benetton came and didn't get there. It's Gabriel's cross into an unguarded net, and Benetton gets back in time to deny Lusale. Crystal Palace lucky to survive. Smart recovery from Luca Benetton.
What a moment that could have been. Just come on, Asali. Great work. Probably the most impact we've seen from Gabriel so far. Brilliant ball in, but again, Benetton gets back in and makes the save.
Free kick in a dangerous area. Suddenly, all the momentum is with Manchester United. Halafu brought down. And it's a good example of the test you get playing against Darren Fletcher's side at Old Trafford. Sunderland had a vaguely similar moment in the second half of the quarter-final where you might feel like you've got a team like this at arm's length, and even that you're actually in control of the game, as Sunderland had 2-1 up with a few chances for 3-1, but so much quality on the pitch for Manchester United that when they just click back into gear, and the fans get behind them as well, as you can hear now, it all feels so different so quickly.
Yeah, the substitution has really shifted the momentum of the game, and now it's United that look on top, and it is starting to open up now a little bit, and I'm sure both teams will have chances.
Jim Thwaites is a bit of a free kick specialist. He scored a superb free kick away against Manchester City earlier on this year. It's Thwaites, and it's not too far away with a low skidder looking for the far corner from Jim Thwaites.
Yeah, always a tough one when you're trying to go not over the wall from that position into the far post to get the angle right and to get it on target. Lovely technique, but again, just couldn't get it on target and test Benetton.
He's someone who frequently wins the club's Goal of the Season award for one that goes for all of the academy men's and women's teams, Jim Thwaites. Such is his ability to score from range, and most of those tend to be dead ball free kicks. It's a bit of a party trick that he's got up his sleeve.
We've certainly seen his talent tonight, more so in a passing. His repertoire has been fantastic to play through the lines, to switch the play. It's been a real sort of joy to watch at times this evening and put in a really impactful performance.
Kokonki. More than 3/4 of the way through normal time in this one, and still nothing to split this pair. But Manchester United have the momentum, and Lusale's made a great impact. Here he goes against his old team. Duel won by Jacob Fasida, who kept his composure. Now Palace trying to build, but lost by Martin.
Lusale's really making an impact since coming on the pitch. He's been on about 10 minutes now, but must have had 4 or 5 runs, and we're disappointed that he couldn't get any end product there after finding really good space on the right wing.
Space here for Lusale again, and he's got a great ball in, but Obi was hanging more towards the edge of the box.
I think if you're a winger, you're disappointed that your striker's not in the middle there. It's a brilliant run again, and the technique to get the ball across was fantastic, and you'd like your centre-forward to be in there to potentially get a tap in.
Just guiding it off that inside of the right boot, and he made it look easy as Obi was trying to probe, hurriedly cleared. It's been a real arm wrestle of a game, and right now it's Manchester United just with the momentum. Armour charging forward from centre-back and was trying to find Gabriel or Obi. Couldn't find either. Kokonki covering from full-back into the space that Armour had left behind. Coley. Another thing to note is, of all of the pitches that these under-18 players play on, across both the North and South League, it may not surprise you to know that in terms of width and length, Old Trafford is one of the very biggest. So that does mean that particularly as the game goes on, it's always going to be lots of space that opens up on it.
Yeah, I think the legs will start feeling it roundabout now. Old Trafford is a massive, massive pitch.
Lusale absolutely belts past Fasida. It's Lusale, and it's over from Obi. Another golden chance for Manchester United, and Chido Obi goes begging.
Brilliant play again down the right-hand side, and Obi, you feel like the chances are coming at him thick and fast, but just can't get his shot off on target. Really, really, really strong play again from Lusale, beating his man, getting his head up. Maybe not the best ball across, could be played along the ground, but you'd expect Chido Obi to do a little bit better in that position.
Obi, by his extremely high standards, not quite finding his best. Scored the winner in the 4th round with a goal in the 103rd minute against Derby. They were already 1-0 up, but Obi made it 2-0, and they needed that goal because Nestling got one back late for Derby to make it nervy. And then Obi was on target in the 5th round win at Oxford and in the quarter-final home win against Sunderland, as ball hurriedly thumps it clear. And it's worked out well for Palace. Benji Casey, support arriving. Casey stopped by Kokonki.
Really good defending from Godwill Kokonki there. Casey's a massive threat, getting into that channel again, but well played by Godwill Kokonki to stop him in his tracks. You mentioned Chido Obi. I think will be disappointed. He had a number of chances tonight, but been such a threat getting into positions. I don't think we saw that as much in the Sunderland game, but his touches in the box tonight, although not finding the back of the net, some of his movement has been outstanding.
Danish under-20 international, eligible for England, Denmark and Nigeria, and I understand all three in different ways behind the scenes have made it relatively clear that they would love to have his services. Was in the Euros under-17 team of the tournament for Denmark a couple of years back too, so is someone that it's probably a question of when rather than if, and also potentially where he makes his impact on the international stage, Chido Obi.
No, a striker of high potential. Obviously, you'd like to see him take more of the chances he's got, but I'm sure that will come with age. He's quite raw at the moment, but so much threat, both in terms of holding the ball up and running in the channels, getting in behind, and so much athleticism as well.
Foul on Thwaites. You mentioned Obi getting in the right places to take those chances. It actually reminds me of a clip on a podcast I saw recently from Brentford owner Matthew Benham, who's been known to help Brentford sort of moneyball their way to being a solid Premier League club, who was actually saying that they've realised on the metrics they'd rather have a striker that scores the same number of goals from double the number of chances as someone who needs half as many, because actually to them it means that they're better at getting in those positions.
Yeah, particularly as a young player as well, because that'll come, that finishing, that technique will come.
Drakes Thomas runs into Kokonki, can sense the crowd trying to urge Manchester United on. Obi, slightly heavy touch and really neat from Danaher. Exactly what you want from your central midfielder, covering across in a moment of transition. Ewan Danaher, who's been with Palace since he was 7 years old, one of the biggest nights of his young career, and was right in the right place at the time. Described to me by one of the Palace coaches as the midfield metronome who can force turnovers, create chances and be at the heart of everything, and he was at the heart of a vital moment there.
Yeah, Ewan Danaher and Chuck Zicoli have worked tirelessly in the middle of the pitch, outnumbered at times with United's free in there, but they've not stopped running. Maybe not done as much they would have liked in possession, but out of possession they've both been outstanding.
Now, you're not watching walking football, which of course has its valuable place in community sport. It's another game of how far forward can Burn Hughes go, and he's found Obi on the turn. Obi slightly lost his footing though. Kokonki steps in. You can just see the game becoming slightly more frantic and a little bit frayed in transition. Both teams have lost their shape a little bit compared to that first half, as Halafi stepping in and being fouled in the most professional ways by Benamar, who can't really complain if he gets a card here.
No, I think the yellow card's coming out. It was quite cynical from Benamar there, as Halafu charges through that space inside the pitch again, and I think you've got to get a booking for that.
Yeah, the Men's Six Nations concluded a month or so ago in the rugby union, but all jokes aside, he's had a very solid game there, Dean Benamar, and there is an argument to be made tactically that it was worth doing. It's given Palace the chance to reset, but Obi in for Gabriel. It's Gabriel, and it's 1-0 Manchester United. The 15-year-old on target for his third goal in the competition this season. Deserved on the run of play. It is the Red Devils who lead.
What a finish, 15 years old, and I think we've spoke about maybe not having the impact so far that he would have liked to have, but it belies his years, the movement he makes. Absolutely brilliant centre-forward play again from Obi, and the movement inside is fantastic, and you never doubted him for a minute. It sits the keeper down, lifts it over him, and it's really, really great ball by Obi there, and look at this. Fantastic movement, cool as a cucumber to just lift it over the keeper, and that is a massive moment in this cup tie as it starts to open up a little bit.
Palace caught napping. Halafu was on to the possibility from the quickly taken free kick, and great credit to Obi because by his high standards he's not had a good night in front of goal himself, and yet there he's turning with a stopper and a cover, two defenders to deal with between them. Between him as he receives the ball, and yet he spins away from both and he sets up Gabriel. So even on a night where Chido Obi, in terms of his goal scoring form, hasn't been where he's wanted to be, he's created a goal that is now the difference.
Done that really well tonight as well. Obi is back to goal, sort of pinning defenders, getting hold of the ball, shows his strength against two very strong Crystal Palace, well, three very strong Crystal Palace centre-halves, but has created a goal now, got an assist to his name, and I'm sure will be looking to get a goal himself as well. But Palace immediately on the attack and got a corner now, and I'm pretty sure this one will be going into the box and it won't be a short one.
Yeah, you would think so, given previous relative successes or lack of when they've gone short. Substitution coming in response to the goal. Corner wasn't the best. Obi easily able to head away unmarked at that near post. Here come Palace on the follow-up, and Burnhughes has to be alert, and it's dropped it, and it's 1-1. Shaksakoli. Well, it's Rehahan Anderson there to profit. Manchester United can't believe it. Just 2 minutes after going in front, the Red Devils are pinned back, and Rehahan Anderson, who scored that beautiful curler in the win against Aston Villa away from home in the quarter-final, tucks in here to make it 1-1.
Yeah, United will be really disappointed how they defended the second phase of that set play after defending the corner well, but then just switching off there. It's an individual error from Cameron Burnhughes, but that wouldn't come about if they're switched on and defending better. But again, if it's a Coley who gets another really, really important goal as he's done in the previous 2 rounds, and it's game on again here now.
Self-inflicted wounds for the home side.
I actually think it was Anderson that flicked it in the goal there. They went there together, but Anderson toe-ended it in.
Rehahan Anderson with his second goal in this FA Youth Cup run this season, and both of them equalisers with time running out. The 86th minute at Villa Park, the 79th minute at Old Trafford. That's a pretty good pair of goals, both to score in terms of the context of the venue and the competition, and never mind, of course, the time in the contest too. And just to add to the irony, we'll come back to that, Gabriel almost getting through. Rehahan Anderson was about to be subbed there. He was just about to come off because Caden Moses was stripped and ready to come on, and we were told that the change inputted to the 4th official was that Anderson's number was going to be up, but they decided to wait until the corner was taken, and it is on such tiny moments that cup ties can turn. Those
small margins, I'm pretty sure they're glad they kept him on now as well, and that was certainly a much scrappier goal than his one at Villa Park, but they all count exactly the same, and he's in the position to do it and toe ends it into the back of the net, which could prove to be a hugely, hugely important goal for Crystal Palace.
Yep, it's certainly not strictly come dancing. You can score the fanciest goal you want or the ugliest one imaginable, and they still all count as one. Different change coming for Crystal Palace. It looks like Dylan Monk is ready to come on. That change where Caden Moses was set to come on has been cancelled. Different game, of course, at 1-1, and Palace, of course, have to be extra careful because they've already made 2 subs, so they've got to use the 3 they've got left really diligently. Gabriel just slightly lost it there. Seen out by Ajayi for a throw. No shortage of physicality in the duel, but I think the referee fairly deciding it was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, they were both pulling at each other there, that's for sure. No one wants to give a yard away at this stage. And I think that just, the saying is, you're always at your weakest after you've scored a goal. And Palace have gone straight up the other end to equalise, where United felt they were very much in the ascendancy and growing much better into the game.
Lovely hold-up play from Casey. Crossfield ball from Danaher, cut out by Halafu. And then Lusale, who's had a real impact on this contest with his very direct running, finds Gabriel, who has Obi. Manchester United in full flow. Obi seemed in two minds as to whether to cross or even shoot.
The real centre-forward always wants to get his shot off. Maybe the better option there was to have another touch and maybe get a crossing.
Chance here, though, and just guided wide by Jim Thwaites, who couldn't resist trying to pass it into that far corner.
A really genuine two-footed player, Jim Thwaites. He chopped back in there. He had a shot in the first half with his left foot that was straight at the goalkeeper. And here again, just tried to bend it into the far corner, but just wide. But showing all his ability tonight, Jim Thwaites had a really outstanding performance.
Yeah, it's very easy to see why Ruben Amorim chose to take him on the post-season tour of Asia that Manchester United have. And that experience in May of last year was hugely beneficial for his development, as you would expect.
Yeah, spending time with the first team group as a young player is not only invaluable for your learning, but as a confidence booster as well, to know that you're part of that squad or being part of that squad for a period of time is a memory that he'll never forget.
Halafu. Manchester United seeking another memorable late winner, having done it against Sunderland in the quarter-final. Gabriel, so dangerous. Vital little flick on it from Jacob Fasida. Corner Manchester United.
Now we're seeing the game open up. If it goes to extra time, I think we'll see more and more of this. Gabriel starting to have an impact since the goal. Nice position there. You can see his imagination. His mind's always ticking over, looking for them through balls. And that little lifted pass again, cut out well, but it'll end in the corner.
In comes the set piece. It's nodded down. It's a bit of a game of penalty box pinball, but Palace get it away and sense possibilities. Drakes Thomas up against Lusale, and then Kakonki coming back. Just got the wrong side of Drakes Thomas in the duel.
Outstanding from Drakes Thomas, taking the heat off his team, running the ball out. Must have carried the ball 60 yards there, cutting inside and winning a free kick in a very, very dangerous area. And again, an opportunity to put the ball into the Manchester United box.
Plenty of twists and turns left in this engrossing contest. Ewan Danaher seems the most likely candidate. Team Benham the other option. Here's Danaher, headed up by Drakes Thomas. Away by Kakonki, nodded down by Thwaites. Lots of space for Drakes Thomas, who manages to skip past Kakonki. It's Drakes Thomas. It's almost set up for a Coley to hit. And Lusale eyeing something. Fasida. Fasida's cross. Mills is there to head it away. You do sense here that both teams are very willing to throw caution to the wind to try and win it late. You certainly couldn't accuse either of them in the 6 minutes or so we've had since it went 1-1 of playing for extra time and possible penalties.
No, I think both teams believe that they've got a winner in them. Obviously, Palace now, some really, really good play again down the right-hand side by Drakes Thomas, who's having a real impact on this second half. But a really, really important defending as well from Fasida there to stop the Saleh get away, because he has been a real threat.
Benetton. Kakonki only heads it into harm's way. Possibilities here. Burn Hughes has come out and lofted over him and off the post. Benji Casey so close to a 5th goal in the Youth Cup this season. Palace's serial finisher did almost everything right, and luck wasn't quite on his side.
Casey is so unlucky there. To see that last second, the spin of the ball that took it onto the post. Cameron Burns-Hughes has committed himself. He's lifted it over him really well, and he's got to count himself. He thought he scored, and it struck the inside of the post and not got in. A bit of a lucky escape there for Manchester United.
Probably won't surprise you to know that Casey is the top scorer in under-18s Premier League football this season. On the turn is Anderson, scorer of the equaliser. Wants it again, but the pass wasn't a good one, and Thwaites can cut it out. Gabriel. Musale, space for Thwaites. Thwaites. Sommeil gets there ahead of Obi.
Brilliant defending from Sommeil, cutting inside. It's really good play from United again. And Jim Thwaites driving forward, well found by Musale, and it's a good opportunity. Here's the replay here, and look at this last minute spin away. You think it's in. The bounce just takes it across the post. And again, you wouldn't be surprised if that nestled in the net any other day.
Had the presence of mind, Casey, to know that he had to take that first time, and it was the timing of the shot as well. Other strikers might have rushed that. He knew that he didn't need to, just waited until Byrne Hughes had come out and committed. Sean Sommeil is down. Palace risking becoming something of the walking wounded. They've already lost Charlie Walker-Smith, and they will have lost 2/3 of their starting back three if Sean Sommeil comes off. A scholar last season, he's been a regular for the under-18s this season of Nigerian descent, and he's a big reason why this Palace side have been so good. One thing that's been noticeable about Sommeil is that regardless of being in a back four or back three, he's been pretty much first name on the team sheet, and that's all you need to know about how important Alonso considers him.
Yeah, and I think it's a case of cramp, and I think we might be seeing this a fair bit between now and if it goes to extra time, the end of the game. You can see the physios out with the energy gels going out to all the players, and I hope that the physios are well warmed up, because I'm sure they're going to be on and off the pitch in this last sort of 10 minutes or so.
So in shot there on the bench, just before we cut back to Sommeil, was Dylan Monk, who is the most likely candidate to come on here. Monk, stripped and weddy, 16 years old, 17 in November. What a cauldron of a game to step into here. And much like the first half, we've got an injury delay right at the end of the half, which will mean that we're going to have a lot of time added on, and Crystal Palace have got to manage this. It's quite awkward. Decision has to be made about, can Sommeil try and tough it out, or is it better to get another replacement on?
Looks like the subs come on for this set play. You never want to make a change at a set play, but I think they've been forced into it with the injury there.
Ball in from Thwaites. Header is harmless for Benetton to gather. Benetton looking up, not seeing a lot of options, and deciding to go direct, looking for Casey as the ever-willing runner. McCormack. It's a kind of game that has rarely failed to entertain and produce moments, and you sense there's every chance that at least one, if not both teams, have got a decent chance in them to win this before we go to possible extra time as we tick into stoppage time. Ajayi, minimum of 4 minutes added on. Ajayi gets it in behind for Kokonki. Kokonki, and then unselfish from Obi, and Gabriel straight at Benetton. Well, just as I said, there'd definitely be chances for both teams to win it. The 15-year-old almost with his second.
Brilliant play from United down the left-hand side with Kokonki. Again, Obi showing that experience, getting hold of the ball. In the out, slays it off to Gabriel, who hit it straight down the throat of Benetton. But that's a chance. It'll be interesting to see. We've got about 3.5 minutes if we get another one, but both teams are now really tiring, and you can see that the game, the pace has slowed down a little bit.
Gabriel averaging almost a goal a game this season as a 15-year-old playing in the under-18s. That tells you just how good he is. But right now, here come Palace. Danaher. Maybe this is Palace's chance to win it. Anderson. Byrne Hughes was uncertain, and it's just lifted wide by Dante Martin, who I think saw Armour and Mills covering the goal and was slightly in two minds as to what to do there, Dante Martin.
Yeah, you know that Cameron Byrne Hughes is going to be brave, whatever stage of the game it was, and it was a lofted ball in, it's a high one. Again, he's got his fist on it, and the finish there is going to weigh a little bit from Dante Martin as the ball came out and he's looked to lob it. But here's a chance again. Brilliant from Obi. Gabriel's hit it well enough, but straight down Benetton.
Burn Hughes clears it only straight at the back of Martin. Another chance for Palace, and it flashes wide. Dean Benamar couldn't hit the target, couldn't make Burn Hughes pay for his error. You just cannot take your eyes off this game.
Look for the pass out, it's him, and what a strike. He's really took the laces off, the lever off the ball there, Benamar, and it's not foul. I thought he was going to nestle in the top corner.
And you can understand the frustrations of Casey and Martin, who are both there saying, well, we could have squared it to either of us. Drake's Thomas in there trying to win it.
Great energy from Drake's Thomas now. Palace are sensing blood a little bit. They're really pressing United high now and trying to get that winning goal. But it looks, for all the world, like we're going to go to extra time.
Well, now you say that, we're almost inevitably going to get a winner. It's just a question of who fought. I mean, I predicted 3 minutes or so ago that both sides will probably get one big chance to win it in stoppage time. They've both already had one, and there's still time for more.
No, you definitely called it. We've seen two really, really good chances, but a last chance maybe for Palace to get the ball into the United box now with a free kick.
Still time for Palace to go and nick it off this attacking platform. Surely they're going to put the ball in the box. They certainly will. Danaher away for now. Not convincing though, and then snapshot from Anderson, just wide from Reha Anderson, whose equaliser is the reason we're going to extra time. It will mean so much to Anderson as someone who started at Millwall, born in Kennington, raised in Brixton, and he's really been making waves with Palace. He's had 2 long injury layoffs in the last 2 seasons, and I know this season they were really excited to have him get a full season under his belt without having to deal with that. And we've seen tonight the threat Anderson can offer. And speaking of threat, Lusale offering it there. He's brought down.
Another dangerous area for United now to put the ball in the box. Lusale again getting some rough treatment off his ex-teammates there as the tackle came in from Okoli.
Certainly no love lost, it's fair to say. Waits to deliver. Lusale in some discomfort, but desperate to battle on. He seems to hurt both his stomach and his right wrist in that challenge. Manchester United fabled in the Sir Alex Ferguson era for a late goal at Old Trafford. Is this another? Well, it was a free header, but it's wide, and that will be that for now. Don't go too far though. Extra time to come very shortly after a pulsating match. Gabriel had Manchester United in front, the 15-year-old with his 3rd goal in this FA Youth Cup this season after being set up by Chido Obi. But just 2 minutes later, Reha Anderson on target with the goal that ultimately means that we'll have an additional 30 minutes to play here and possible penalties for the right to meet Man City away in the final. After the 90, it's finished Manchester City 1, Crystal Palace 1. So extra time and possible penalties. United back attacking left to right for the second time tonight. Palace from right to left for the next 15 or so. Strap yourselves in. It was always going to be a night with high drama. 1-1. Gabriel cancelled out by Reha Anderson 2 minutes later. Who will travel to the blue side of Manchester in the FA Youth Cup final? Final checks from referee Barlow.
A much more even second half there after United really dominated the first half in terms of chances, but Palace grew into the game and had a number of chances, and it could have gone either way now. It'll be interesting to see what the energy levels are like going into this first period of extra time.
Foul from Halafu on Danaher. Definitely at this point also becomes a mental game. Manchester United have already had a game go to extra time in this competition this season. 2-1 home win in the fourth round against Derby County. An own goal in the 101st minute. Chido Obi 2 minutes later, but Nestling scored in the 113th minute, and then Nestling nearly scored again with quite literally what proved to be the last kick of the game, where wasn't quite able to take a very good chance. Had he scored that, it would have been penalty. So Manchester United at least have the memory bank of having a game in this competition this season on this ground, go to extra time and prevailing. But there is, of course, that weight of history of the 11 FA Youth Cup wins and the expectation of the home crowd to counterbalance that with.
Yeah, and I think you'd like to see the game settled in this extra time period. You wouldn't want to see it go to penalties and someone to miss the penalty that knocks their team out, particularly at this age. Obviously, it's all a learning process. It's all about development, but I think it would be the fairer way for the game to end in this 30 minutes, whichever way it might be, because it could certainly go either way at the moment.
Casey, always a threat. Nearly scored the winner for Palace in normal time. But of course, this competition is also about preparing these players for the mental brutality of what elite professional sport can be, and penalty shootouts have their place within that. So here's Drakes Thomas. Has lots of options. Just slipped at the crucial moment. And again, as Luke Chadwick alongside predicted at the back end of this game when we saw Samoed go down with cramp, we're going to see a fair bit of this in stoppage time.
Yeah, it's the worst feeling in the world, getting cramp. You know that it's so hard to get rid of it once it comes, and there'll be lots of stretching the old calf muscles in this next 30 minutes, but it looks like Javier Alonso is getting a substitute ready and seeing if maybe a change to be made. I think it makes sense to do that at this stage, to get some fresh legs on the pitch.
I hear you, but if I was to play devil's advocate, Joel Drakes Thomas is probably one of your best players. You know, this is someone that has made his senior debut for Palace, is an England age group international. Palace's fourth youngest player of all time, has played for them in the Premier League, the FA Cup, and in Europe at senior level as well. He's probably one of the ones you really don't want to bring off, and for now, they're not going to bring him off, and he's going to sort of limp around, hoping, I guess, that those legs come back.
And I think that is the thing. He's obviously an excellent player. He's been great tonight. But if you look at him now, are you better off having a pair of fresh legs on there that can move a little bit freer, because it doesn't look like that cramp's disappearing on him at the moment.
There is an extra sub that teams are allowed in extra time, so their overall limit has gone up to 6 for the night. So Palace have 4 remaining. Manchester United have 5 left in their back pocket. I guess from a game management point of view, what I'm a little bit surprised by there is Alonso seemed to signal to the bench to not bring on the physio, but surely, particularly with a player as good as Drakes Thomas, you want to do everything you can to keep them on. You say, even if it's cramp, get the physio on, just take a couple of minutes out of the game and make sure they're okay. Given away in a terrible area by Benetton, and a really important intervention to stop Thwaites threading it through. And now here comes Casey up the other end, and there is Harmer.
Now we're seeing it's like a basketball game now, end to end. I think that's the first time this evening Jim Thwaites hasn't chose the right option, where maybe the pass to the left to Obi was the one to get him in front of goal with a chance to get the shot off. But it's now up the other end, and a corner for Crystal Palace, an opportunity for them.
Caden Moses is being ready to come on. Now, Moses was about to come on just before Crystal Palace scored their equaliser. He was prepared in response to Manchester United being 1-0 down. We'll see if this time he gets a chance to get on. In comes that corner. Headed away for now. There is Benamar, who's been busy all night. Gabriel goes down, still Benamar. Benamar's ball in, not properly away by Mills, and then wide by Okoli at the far post. Chucks Okoli, who got the winner in the quarter-final, just dragging that off target.
Benamar venturing over to the right-hand side of the pitch there, but still getting a quality delivery in. Well defended, Albert Mills with an important touch, and there was Chucks Okoli, who we know has got a goal in him, particularly important goals in this tournament, but can't, just dragged it wide of the near post there.
Jakes Thomas, for now, slightly limping on, does seem to be moving a bit better. And I think Caden Moses was ready to possibly come on for Jakes Thomas there, because you have to feel for poor old Caden Moses. It looks like for a second time tonight, having been ready to come on at Old Trafford in a semi-final, he's been told to sit back down.
Yeah, the life of a substitute. I've had that a lot in my career, where you're up 1 minute and then down the next.
Lusale, stopped by Benamar. And it's another attack of cramp, this time for Benamar. There is a change being readied by Manchester United. Meanwhile, it looks like James Overy to me, the fullback. And I would expect that the obvious change would be Yul Halafu.
Yeah, we've not seen as much from Halafu in the second half, but I remember against Sunderland, Kokonki struggled a little bit with cramp in the later stages and came off the pitch. So it'll be interesting to see which fullback comes off.
It's a bit of a game of the hokey-cokey on the Crystal Palace bench for poor old Caden Moses. Kokonki. Trying to pick their way through Manchester United. Gabriel has always got quick feet in him. No free kick given.
Fantastic feet, and Gabriel's got a spot of cramp now. They're going down like flies at the moment.
Halafu. Thwaites. Obi. Nice link-up play. Lusale, who's made a real impact, but gets it all wrong there, and it gives this game a moment to breathe, which I guess both sides might not mind too much. And now the change can come, and Caden Moses at the third opportunity, I should say, will come on. But the Manchester United change comes first. A straight swap. Yul Halafu replaced by James Overy. So Manchester United have now made 2 of their available 6 changes.
Excellent first half by Yul Halafu, coming inside and causing all sorts of trouble. I think the players at this age, the energy levels do die a little bit when it comes to extra time, and I think maybe the right decision to make that change and to get fresh legs on the pitch.
And that is a little bit curious, because Dante Martin, who himself came on for David Angibo just after the half-hour mark, is brought off. But it is reportedly a knee injury that he's picked up, so that's why Martin has been taken off. And Caden Moses does now, having been stripped and ready to come on, and even plugged into the 4th official's board twice. At the 3rd opportunity, Caden Moses comes on to try and make the difference.
I'm sure he'll make the most of it as well, coming onto this pitch at Old Trafford and making an impact on the game for what we've got left.
Casey. Cleared away, but only as far as Danaher. What a crossfield ball. Lost by Anderson, though, to Kokonki. Ajayi charging forward. His Palace shirts crowding around him, but gets it away to Lusale. Lusale with the outside of the right boot, trying the spectacular, covering defence was just about good enough.
Incredible energy levels from Ajayi to break through there, and there he is again on that right-hand side, giving great whips to Saleh, and outside the right foot, deflection, and a corner for United.
Thwaites drifts wide, and Benamar seemed in two minds as to what to do. Hands it straight back to United. Saleh looking for Thwaites. Seen out by Fasida.
Really strong defending from Fasida there. Thwaites making another forward run, but he's been so strong all night. Jacob Fasida, and see that out for a goal kick.
These players desperate to put their names into the rich tapestry of players who've played in an FA Youth Cup final. That's what's up for grabs. The names over the years are quite ridiculous. Plenty of them associated with Manchester United, of course. You think of the likes of George Best, John Barnes, Bobby Charlton, David Beckham, Terry Venables, Graham Souness, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney and Gareth Bale, all amongst the players that have been a winner or a runner-up in the FA Youth Cup, to be doubly clear for those watching. Of course, very well aware that not all of those associated with Manchester United, but of course plenty of them are.
Always a buzz around every football club when it's youth club, even the smaller clubs, youth cup, sorry, even the smaller clubs when they're coming into the tournament, and obviously these bigger clubs, Premier League clubs, to make those semi-finals, to get in the final is such a huge achievement. It means so much.
Palace on the high press, led by Moses, who's only just come on, but Manchester United play out well. Ajayi, scorer in the 5th round and the quarter-final. Up against Bull, who will be quite fresh, having come on at half-time, and Bull has been very good in a big occasion, replacing Charlie Walker-Smith. Mills back there, safety first.
Yeah, good defending again by Hugo Bill, but again, those energy levels of Noah Ajayi. He keeps running with the ball, is non-stop. Probably had more runs in this extra time than he did in the second half.
What a pass for Gabriel. And Gabriel threads it through for Obi. Vital sliding challenge, just as Obi was dreaming of putting his name up in lights once more. Chance for Ajayi to run. Palace feel like it went out of play, and eventually it's confirmed that it does, but it's always dangerous playing the waiting game there. And there's players down for both teams. Ajayi is down, and 2 Palace players are down with all different versions of cramp, it looks like.
A brilliant feat from Ajayi there. I mean, from here it's not easy to see, but it looked like he just kept it in. But as you say, the cramps come, you completely understand it. These young lads have all run their socks off tonight, and it's now time to get stretched off and see if he can make it through the last 20 minutes or so of this match.
Well, speaking of cramp, it does look like Palace have decided that Joel Drakes-Thomas, one of their very best prospects, has lost his battle with cramp. Certainly a player to keep an eye out on, a 16-year-old who only turned 17 in June, but is already one of the shining lights of Palace's academy, having played a fair bit at senior level. And on in his place comes Cairo Smith-Phillips, a 16-year-old, also turned 17 in September. And Palace have still got Sean Somaid down. Palace are readying a second change. I think Somaid's going to come off here.
Yeah, Drakes-Thomas really, really impressive tonight, non-stop down that right-hand side and having an impact inside the game as well. And he can be really pleased. He looked absolutely gutted, and I'm sure he is to come off this evening. But sometimes when that cramp hits, it's hard to get rid of it, and you've got to do what's right for the team. And I'm sure that's what Xavier Alonso is thinking, to get some fresh legs on, because the game is sort of fizzling out a little bit as a spectacle at the moment. But one bit of magic can change everything, and someone can become a hero if they can get the winning goal in the remaining spell of the game.
So Dylan Monk comes on, the 16-year-old. That will, I'd imagine, be a straight swap for Sean Somaid at centre-back. Somaid had an excellent game at the heart of that Palace defence. And to confirm that other change once more, Cairo Smith-Phillips coming on for Joel Drakes-Thomas. It doesn't look to be a change of shape for Palace. Merely a freshening up of personnel. Palace have just one change left of the 6. Now, Manchester United have only made 2 of their 6.
You can see that Palace have changed their approach when the ball's back at Cameron Byrne-Hughes' feet now. Obviously, they've pressured him a couple of times and got a bit of joy, and they're really pressing him now to see if they can force a mistake.
Lusale has managed to keep it in, and too close to Benetton. Twinkle toes on the touchline. Samuel Lusale against his old club.
Brilliant from Lusale again, beating his man and getting into the box, but just couldn't find that final ball. Didn't have the space to pull it back and ended up in Benetton's hands.
Fasida. Well, if there's one thing we've seen across this game, it's that even in the minimum 3 minutes added on at the back end of this first half, there is every chance that at least one of these two teams will get the chance to go in front. It's been truly one that, particularly since Gabriel put Manchester United in front, has been pretty frantic.
Without a doubt, the players have been non-stop. It was quite a placid first half by Crystal Palace, who let United have the ball a lot, but the plan is still working at the moment. They're still in the tournament, and they're really pushing much harder now as we come into extra time.
Won by Thwaites. Mills with room to run into. Scored a great header in the round 5 win at Oxford, but Mills has given it away there. Vital interception by McCormack to keep Manchester United on the front foot. Driven pass almost found Lusale. Luke Chadwick alongside purring at the technique used there.
Yep, Thwaites again, gets out his feet. I'm sure it reminded me of his manager, first team manager Michael Carrick, the way he got it out his feet and sort of swashed it out wide. Unfortunately, just a little bit too much on it, and Lusale couldn't get hold of the ball.
Is that a technical term, swashed?
It just came to me.
I think everyone knows exactly what you mean, though. There's something really beautiful about pass hit like that on the outside of the right boot, pinged, whatever adjective does your trick of describing it. The quality was undoubted. Flicked on by Casey. It's an up and under, really. Who wants it? Mills in the battle. Helped in behind by Moses for Cairo Smith-Phillips to chase. And a bit of a frustrated forwards tackle.
I think the biggest challenge both teams have got now is that energy levels, and it's sort of that stick or twist. Do we wait for penalties and not give a goal away and not attack as much as we can and put everything into that and be strong at the back, or do we go all out for it? I think in under-18s football, a lot of the time at this stage, the real intensity goes out the game a little bit and we don't see as many chances.
Yeah, the tempo's definitely lessened in extra time than what we saw at the back end of the 90 itself, but here come Palace. Okoli, it's spilled by Byrne-Hughes, and he was a lucky boy because it fell to McCormack rather than Okoli or one of his Palace teammates who were chasing a winner.
Yeah, Okoli, great forward run. It's not a brilliant effort. Byrne-Hughes would probably think that he should get hold of that and keep it in his hands, but you don't want to risk anything than swept away for another Crystal Palace corner, who are looking the stronger team at this moment in time.
Coley, who scored the winner in the 2nd minute of stoppage time in the game against Villa in that quarter-final. Corner from Caden Moses. Slightly over hit. Not well defended by United then. And 2 Palace players get in each other's way. But it matters not. That will be that for the first half of extra time then. No goals to add to what we saw in the 90. Still Gabriel in the 78th minute and Rayhan Anderson 2 minutes later. And it's safe to say that we saw the tempo slow in that first half of extra time, and it also seemed like both teams' appetite for risk have lessened a little bit compared to that rather frantic 10 minutes plus stoppages from 80 to the end of the 90. And I just wonder, Luke Chadwick alongside, how much of that do you think is the physical exertion and how much of that is the mental fear of making a mistake that costs your team the game?
Yeah, I think firstly it's completely understandable. I think when it gets to extra time, you know that any mistake now could cause the game to be lost, and that mental exhaustion that you get, as we can see the players now, that physical exhaustion as well. We must have seen 6 or 7 cases of cramp so far during the last 10 minutes of normal time and extra time. So I think it is one of them where you do tend to see the quality drop. You understand that, because these lads are dead on their feet. They've all worked their socks off, but one bit of magic changes everything, and both teams have got players capable of doing that.
I think also great credit to Crystal Palace. This Manchester United side are going for the treble. They've won 13 games in a row in all competitions this year, since a 3-1 defeat against Everton in the league back on the 20th of December 2025. They are, at the moment, the under-18s form team in the country. Now, I realise Manchester City fans would say, well, we're top of the Northern League with a game in hand, and we're ahead on goal difference, and we're also in an FA Youth Cup final. But in terms of the form in this calendar year, Manchester United have been the team to beat, and after 105 minutes, Crystal Palace are deservedly level pegging with them. It's been an outstanding effort.
Yeah, and United have been perfect this season in terms of the results. They've won every game that they've played, but I'm pretty sure Palace came here to win the game. They're not in fear or in awe of the Manchester United players, and they've shown tonight that they've competed with them really well. Palace having a fantastic season themselves, of course, playing Manchester United. You can see a Fred the Red there. It's always nice to see.
Yeah, a young fan who is getting the chance to stay up a little bit past his normal bedtime. It's a Friday night after all. It's not a school night. The weekend's coming. And you sense that he's understandably looking a little bit nervous there, because it's nervy times for fans of both of these clubs. So much at stake. They're meeting in a final next Wednesday, of course, in the Premier League Cup. But for now, who is going to this Youth Cup final? Second half of extra time, off and running. Palace now from left to right for the second time tonight. Manchester United attacking from right to left for the second time. Gabriel trying to get something going. It's fallen for Thwaites. Early possibilities after the resumption for the home team. Lusale. McCormack. Sets it out wide. One thing I do find intriguing is that Darren Fletcher still only used 2 of his 6 subs. Now, with this Palace side having to make 2 changes in the first half due to injury, they've only got 1 sub left. One vulnerability you might argue that Palace have is being a team that are a bit heavy-legged. And what that tells me, the fact that Fletcher hasn't chosen to make any more than 2 changes, is I think he still feels like, for the most part, his starting 11 are significantly stronger than his bench, and so even with fresh legs, he'd actually prefer to keep as much of the starters on as long as possible. Chance to strike one for Thwaites. Gets it out wide now to Lusale. Patient possession. Lusale against his old team. Stopped by Smith-Phillips.
I think a lot of that is down to, as well, the energy that the Palace players have used, is how the game's gone in terms of United having probably more of the possession, particularly that first half, and it's so hard to not have the ball and chase it around. You can see that the legs are tiring a lot for the Palace players at the moment.
You just wonder how that's going to affect what we see in this second half of extra time. Handy throw one here by Palace, a chance to just get up the pitch.
Yeah, the way that the first half panned out was Palace were having their fair share of possession, but it's just when you see how many players went down with cramp in comparison to Manchester United, who I don't think we've seen it at all so far, you just feel like that first half, particularly when United had the predominantly the play and Palace was shifting shape and moving side to side, it does really take it out of you.
Cut out by Monk, who certainly will be fresh, having not come on too long ago. A little bit awkward between Kakonki and Armour, but then late in comes the challenge from Moses.
The Palace players will be happy the referee's not played the advantage there and gives them the opportunity to reshape there. A crude foul by Caden Moses to slow the game down.
Lusale charging forward, and it's another great cross from Lusale. kept alive to the home fans' delight. Smart work from Ajayi, and then Thwaites feeding Gabriel. Might be 15, might often be one of, if not the youngest player on the pitch at this level, but he's already very much a star for the under-18s. And I know next season he becomes eligible to make his Manchester United debut, and there's all sorts of records that United fans are keeping a close track on, in terms of if he might get a chance in, say, the early League Cup rounds that tend to come, about potentially becoming Manchester United's youngest player to make an appearance, youngest goal scorer, and overtake the likes of Duncan Edwards in regards to various bits of numbers around that. And that tells you how many people are excited about Gabriel. His manager in shot there, Darren Fletcher, has been very keen to just try and play down such expectations, but there's no doubt the size of his talent.
No, he's a ball of energy. For his age at 15 years old, he's intelligent, his sort of weight of pass, the way he gets in positions, he's a real talent.
Anderson's cross. Falls for Smith-Phillips. And still, it's Smith-Phillips. Needed the covering work from Armour, Manchester United, to avoid it being further pain.
Yeah, brilliant from Smith-Phillips. His twisting, his turning. It's really tough for Overy to stay with him. And then a little deflection. You didn't know where it was going to go, but another corner for Palace.
It was Albert Mills, in fact. It was Dan Armour who was there to cover the ball across. And it's now Gabriel's turn to have a very understandable bit of cramp. He's just talking about what a talent this young man is. He was in first-team training in October 2025 as a 15-year-old. That gives you a sense of the regard which he's held. And this was his goal, what feels like a long time ago now, in the 77th minute, that put the home team in front.
No, without a doubt, and it is such a brilliant finish. And I think more of a concern for United is he is the under-18s penalty taker, scored a number of goals from the penalty spot this season, so they'll want to keep him on the pitch. But at 15 years old, he has done, he's certainly covered a lot of ground, always looking to play forward, and it looks like he's going to leave the pitch now.
You can hear from the ovation, already a bit of a fan's favourite, turned 16 in October. We've mentioned a few players that will have nationality dilemmas. Well, he's certainly going to have some proposals, Gabriel, when it comes around for that. He's eligible to play for England, the Republic of Ireland, Cyprus and Trinidad and Tobago. Born and raised in the UK. An Irish dad, a Cypriot mum, and a Trinidadian granddad as well. He has played for the England under-16s. In by Smith-Phillips. And at the near post is Ajayi. He runs into traffic. Anderson tries a little curler. And I don't think he was trying to set up Casey, but Casey almost turned it into something.
Yeah, again, a real challenge for United is that second phase of the set plays. Again, they get the first touch, but a real chance at the back post there. Ended up the angle being a little bit too tight, but United have got to stay switched on after clearing that first phase of the set play.
Just to confirm, it's Jay McAvoy who has come on for Gabriel in central midfield. A little bit more of a conservative midfield player. It'll be interesting to see how Manchester United rearrange. Here's Obi, who's through. Slightly heavy touch has cost him, and Monk was able to get back there in the nick of time.
That was a real moment there, a real chance for Obi. And again, the stage of the game, I think if he's fresh, if he's sharp, that touch stays closer to him and he gets a one-on-one, but the heavy touches just took it away from him.
Busale, fed by McAvoy, the two substitutes combining. McAvoy, United's third to come on, so they've still got 3 left. Palace have just 1. Ajayi. Wild and wide from Noah Ajayi as Manchester United try to put their name on this competition for the 12th time. They won the first 5 FA Youth Cups in a row under the legendary Jimmy Murphy. Duncan Edwards key with what's described as the kind of one-man heroics you typically find in a stack of Marvel comics. He was actually a first-team regular, Duncan Edwards, in 54 and 55, and he was so good in this competition that the rest of the clubs petitioned to the FA to have him banned from playing in it. And despite that pushback, it was deemed that regardless, if you're good enough on the age eligibility criteria, the competition should work such that you could play. And whilst Manchester United haven't been quite so dominant since those 5 wins in a row in the 50s, they've put their name on the cup 6 times since then: 1963, 92, 95 on penalties against Spurs, 2003, 2011 thanks to Jesse Lingard, Ravel Morrison and Paul Pogba. Harry Maguire actually played against them in that final for Sheffield United, and then most recently here against Nottingham Forest in 2022, and now trying to put 2026 on that long list.
Club's certainly got a glorious record in the Youth Cup.
Louis Bradbury looks ready to come on, the striker. Would be United's 4th change. Thwaites sets it wide. Saleh, sliding challenge from Smith-Phillips.
United keeping possession of the ball really well, but not really penetrating Crystal Palace at the moment. A good run in behind there, but cleared away, and another change coming up now.
Louis Bradbury, known for being a serial poacher, the ideal player for a situation like this. Noah Jai takes his lead, scored an excellent goal here in the quarter-final win against Sunderland, and was on target in the win at Oxford in the 5th round. Someone who's had a remarkable story since moving to England as a 10-year-old, having been born in Hamburg, and seems only a matter of time until we see him in a Germany or a Nigeria international shirt one day. But his night's work is done, and it's a chance for Bradbury to make his impact on this epic contest.
Yeah, really lively performance again by Noah Ajayi tonight. He runs with the ball so well, looks to take on his defender at every opportunity, and has really impressed again this evening. But a chance for Bradbury to come on, Louis Bradbury, and potentially become a hero.
Bradbury, who is described by various people in and around Old Trafford as having a bit of the Chicharito Fernandez about him, in terms of being the perfect striker for a situation like this. Here are his first touches. Now McAvoy. You'd imagine at this late stage, Bradbury has also come on with the express willingness and awareness that if we go to penalties, he'll almost certainly be in the 5 takers.
No, I would imagine so. It looked on the bench there like the United sub-keeper Fred Heath was warming up, so I'm not sure if there may be an issue with Cameron Burns-Hughes, or if he could be a penalty expert potentially.
Well, you go all the way back to Tim Krul for the Netherlands, the first to do that, coming on for the Dutch in a round of 16 World Cup game as a penalty-saving specialist. That would be some way to only make tonight even more dramatic, as Obi's managed to get there and round the keeper, and Chido Obi might have put Manchester United into the FA Youth Cup final. Deep in extra time. He's not been that ruthless in front of goal tonight, with so many opportunities. But finally, in the biggest moment of the lot, he's the coolest cucumber one could possibly want.
Absolutely brilliant finish, and I think that is a real show of his sort of perseverance. He keeps getting in positions, he keeps making runs, and what a finish that was. To have the cool head to take it round the goalkeeper, to put it in the back of the net like that, and it's brilliant. It's that channel, Palace defenders dead on their feet, and that is an absolutely fantastic finish that could well have won the game. And what a ball in the channel from James Overy as well to get the assist, and it's a massive, massive goal with 3 minutes left on the clock.
Scored the winner in the 4th round against Derby here in extra time. Scored in the 5th round at Oxford. Scored the equaliser in the 3-2 home win here against Sunderland in the quarter-final. And Chido Obi with a 4th FA Youth Cup goal this season, and another vital one. So little time for Palace to respond. And it says a lot that while we've talked about all the chances Chido Obi hasn't managed to take, ultimately he's got an assist and a goal, and Manchester United are 2-1 up.
Well, that's it, isn't it? The stats don't lie. You look at numbers, you're a centre forward, you've got an assist, you've got a goal, and that is a fantastic night's work for any striker But I think that it shows how he is in terms of young strikers at times can lose a bit of confidence when they have a number of chances. They missed him, but he has just kept getting in positions over and over again, kept making runs, movement's been good, and he gets his just rewards right towards the very end of extra time.
Kyan Fraser-Williams comes on with barely moments to make a difference. Palace chasing a second equaliser, not kept alive by Moses. Fraser-Williams on for Dean Benamar, who's put in a great shift. Gabriel has been booked, despite having already come off the pitch, for coming onto the pitch to join in the celebrations here.
Well, I didn't know that was even a booking to do that. Let the young kids enjoy themselves.
You can see Gabriel there running into shot.
Oh, he's still got his shirt on, fair enough. I suppose you should have some sort of bib or something on if you're entering the field of play.
Doing his version of what Jose Mourinho did on this great ground once upon a time, albeit as a manager running down the touchline towards the away fans as Porto put Manchester United out. But that a much more happier occasion tonight for Red Devils fans, but still time for Manchester United to see out here. That will help the home team just wind the clock down.
Be interesting to see how much added times. We've not had that many stoppages of cramp in the second half of extra time, but Palace will be putting everything in United's box if they get the chance to, and obviously United will be looking to frustrate and kill as much time as they possibly can in these final minutes.
Musale did manage to keep it in play. He gets it back, off Overy. Musale, oh, what skills this is. It's Musale, and just as he was about to pull the trigger, Okoli stops him, scoring one of the great Old Trafford solo goals.
If he could just have got his shot off a tiny bit early, but that is absolutely wonderful. Nutmeg sits another one of his former teammates, and to be fair, it's absolutely brilliant from Okoli, who's been non-stop, defensively outstanding tonight, him and Ewan Danaher.
A minimum of 3 minutes left here, and Crystal Palace have managed to get the ball back, which is a good start for them.
It's certainly not where they want it in that corner. They need to get the ball up the pitch to give them any sort of opportunity of getting back into this game, and that's not going to help.
Manchester United not far away from setting up an FA Youth Cup final against their arch rivals Manchester City. Thumped clear, but can't be taken down by Casey, and Kokonki rightly in no rush. Ben Hughes predictably direct at this stage. Back there is Dylan Monk. Smashed clear by Benetton, who, regardless of the result, particularly as a 15-year-old goalkeeper, can take great pride in his major part in this run to the semi-final.
Yeah, he's been excellent tonight, Luca Benetton. And this is the moments, these are the chances that Palace need, and I wouldn't be surprised if they send the goalkeeper up for him.
Caden Moses wins the free kick, and remember, it was a ball into the box that wasn't cleared that led to Ray Anderson equalising just 2 minutes after Gabriel had Manchester United in front.
This is where you need voices, this is where you need to organise for Manchester United, and for Palace you need someone to get on the end of it.
After all that, the ball in is a really poor one, and it leaves Palace slightly scrambling. Benetton just slices it towards goal, and it's Casey, but the whistle's gone.
For a split second, I thought he'd give a handball for a penalty there, but it looks like the flag was up. But again, United, the way they defend them second phases, it has to be more organisation-wise. You'll keep giving chances away, as we've seen a fair few times this evening.
Well, no matter what the result is, that is surely something that we picked up in video analysis when reviewing and watching this game back in the cold light of day, for them to think about for the final against Manchester City. If they can hold out to get there, what a contest that would be. The league games between those two were shared this season. United won 3-1 away at Manchester City, but that was only revenge after they were 2-0 up when United had home advantage, and City scored 4 goals to come back and win 4-2. You'd expect that a final would provide similar entertainment. Can United get a third to surely kill it? Obi's shot blocked. With Saleh in there trying to win it. Not long left now at all. Palace just struggling to get anything going. One last desperate throw of the dice for Cedar.
So frustrating for Palace, and there's a full-time whistle.
Manchester United are through to the FA Youth Cup final, and Darren Fletcher's team can continue to dream of repeating the treble that they managed back in 2024. It's 14 wins from 14 across all competitions in this calendar year, but the Red Devils had it far from all their own way. Ultimately, Chido Obi setting up Gabriel and then scoring himself in extra time proves to be the difference between the teams, and it confirms that it will be Manchester City at home at the Etihad against Manchester United in the FA Youth Cup final. But great credit to Crystal Palace. My goodness me, did they make Manchester United earn it. But on a pulsating night here at Old Trafford, it finishes Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 1. So let's take a look back at the highlights of this one. Chido Obi with a golden chance not long before half-time to put Manchester United in front, but Palace were always offering a threat on the counter.
Yeah, all the time, and I think the first half, United did have the better of it, but in the second half, Palace had their fair share of chances, and you can see here, even in the first half, there was opportunities, but United scramble it away.
Benji Casey causing Cameron Byrne-Hughes a problem there, and then Gabriel had Luca Benetton somewhat scrambling, and Benetton got back just in time to deny Samuel Usale a goal against his old team.
Now, hugely impressive tonight, Luca Benetton, to get back in there and make the save, and then a free kick flashing just wide from Jim Thwaites, who again was excellent this evening.
This was the opening goal. Chido Obi was, at this point, guilty of not quite taking a few decent half chances, but then pops up with a magnificent assist for the 15-year-old wonder kid Gabriel. Done
this well all night, Chido Obi, holding the ball up, great turn, lovely pass, and that finish for a 15-year-old in the FA Youth Cup semi-final is something very special.
Yeah, it's easy to see why there's quite so much excitement about him. It probably won't surprise you to know that there's a bit in the genes. His dad was a Republic of Ireland international at senior level once upon a time, but just 2 minutes later, Palace were level thanks to Reha Anderson.
Yeah, Cameron Byrne-Hughes would be disappointed, dropped it, but as happened a few times tonight, United didn't defend the second phase of set plays well, and were really punished there. And obviously Anderson puts it in, scoring another goal in the Youth Cup. He's had a brilliant run and a toe poke into the back of the net. Not as good as his goal against Aston Villa, but as we said, they all count.
And the last part of normal time after Anderson equalised in the 79th minute was one where both teams had some great chances to go and win the game without extra time, and this was Palace's best chance. Benji Casey almost getting his 5th Youth Cup goal this season.
So unlucky, he worked so tirelessly, and it's just bounced and hit the post.
Gets it in behind for Kokonki. And then this was Gabriel hitting it straight at Benetton with United's chance to go and win it.
Yeah, and another not great clearance from Cameron Byrne-Hughes, and he's absolutely levered that Dean Benamar, and it looked for all the world it was going to nestle in the top corner of the net.
Just when you were starting to get to the point where it seemed like we might be heading for penalties, Chido Obi making no mistake to get his 4th goal in the FA Youth Cup this season.
Kept going, kept making them runs, and Over has found him fantastically, the substitute, with the ball around the corner, and what a finish. Sits the keeper down and puts it in the back of the net, and that's United in the final.
So the FA Youth Cup final is confirmed as Manchester City versus Manchester United. There is, of course, the Premier League Cup final, giving the chance for Crystal Palace to get their revenge against Manchester United next Wednesday, the 22nd of April at Selhurst Park. But for now, in the first of two massive meetings between these two clubs, and in such a big, prestigious competition, it is Manchester United who ultimately prevail. Thank you very much to you for joining us wherever you've been across the world. Thank you very much to Luke Chadwick for being alongside me. I've been Michael McCann. It's been great to have your company on an entertaining night at the Theatre of Dreams. It's Manchester United who can dream of a 12th FA Youth Cup as it finishes after extra time. Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 1. Manchester United seeking to make it 14 consecutive wins in all competitions this year. Kokonki's cross, and there's Ajayi. Manchester United against Crystal Palace for the right to travel to Manchester City in the FA Youth Cup final. Kokonki on the overlap, and what a chance for Obi. Casey almost got it, and now does. And it's Casey, and Burnhughes spills it. Still in there, and just about eventually away by Albert Mills. Dante Martin couldn't quite turn it in. What a pass that is from Obi. Gabriel, Benetton's come out. Gabriel, the cross! Splendid recovery by the 15-year-old Luca Benetton. Samuel Isale so close against his old team. Thwaites ride on the free kick. Obi, what a turn, releases Gabriel. It's Gabriel! The 15-year-old makes no mistake. What an assist from Obi. The deadlock broken at Old Trafford. Can Palace find a quick equaliser? Not a great corner. Obi there at the near post. Still not away. And Burnhughes has lost it. And it's in for 1-1. Rayhan Anderson scored the equaliser at Villa Park in the quarter-final, and now comes up with a massive equaliser at Old Trafford in the semi. Kakonki's header into trouble though. Now Casey. Casey first time. Oh, off the post. Armour there to clear. So close for Crystal Palace. Lovely. And now it's Gabriel. Obi was unselfish. Oh, it's come off the back of Martin. And Benema just put his foot through it, had options. Lovely ball forward, and it's for Obi. It's Obi round the keeper. Chino Obi sets up the first and now scores the winner. That might well take Manchester United into the FA Youth Cup final.